Welcome to Senpai, your new home for immersive manga, manhwa, anime-inspired novels, and fantasy audiobook stories. Here, every episode brings you into a world of overpowered heroes, revenge arcs, cultivation journeys, virtual reality games, monsters, magic, and emotional character moments. Whether you enjoy dark fantasy, action, reincarnation, system stories, or epic adventure novels, Senpai is here to turn every chapter into a cinematic listening experience. So relax, put on your headphones, and let the story begin. Subscribe to Senpai and join the journey. Daniel's eyes snapped open. His right hand clenched instinctively, only for the sensation in his grip to feel strangely off. He lowered his head and looked at the hard object in his hand. A phone. The lock screen lit up instantly. Sunday, August 30th, 2030, 9 a.m. Sunlight spilled into the room. From the fast food place downstairs came the rich smell of Orland's roast chicken. Upstairs, the neighbor was gaming so hard the floor kept thudding overhead, all while shouting at the top of his lungs. "Mommy, he's hacking. Show me your legs and bless me with the strength to kill a god." Daniel quickly came back to himself. But even so, he remained leaning against the headboard, sitting there for a full 10 minutes. His mind was still replaying what he had just seen. Invisible tentacles had blotted out the entire sky. The corpse of the elven goddess hung in midair, still clutching, a bow broken clean in two. The dwarf king had been smashed into the city wall by his own anvil, wedged in so deep no one could pry him back out. The skeletal remains of the beast gods sprawled hollow-eyed across the land. Dozens of gods had been slaughtered, enslaved, and strung up in the heavens like trophies. And on the ground lay countless goblins, beast folk, sea folk. These foreign races had willingly degenerated into playthings of the evil god, taking pleasure in butchering and devouring humanity, their hands drenched in endless blood. At Daniel's feet, humanity's great banner had already fallen, burned down until only a palm-sized scrap remained. LV 999, Faustus. Class: Ancient Forbidden Archmage. Blood flowed from his left shoulder, staining his clothes red all the way down his ribs. The flesh on the hand gripping his bow had split open, leaving it a mangled, bloody mess. Even the star-chasing staff in his hand was covered in cracks, as if it might shatter into pieces at any moment. And then, the indescribable existence in the sky spoke. Its voice came from countless dimensions and directions at once, striking directly into Daniel's mind. Long ago, your human race produced a fool who tried to tear open godhood with his bare hands. So I fed both him and his name to the void. You will be no exception. Daniel ignored it. He lowered his head and glanced at his MP bar, estimating how many forbidden spells he had left in him. The next instant, he raised a hand and cast Starfall instantly. 9 meteors, trailing blazing tails, crashed down and slammed into the eyelid of that incomprehensible being. The meteors shattered into dust. The evil god did not even blink. Seeing that, Daniel gritted his teeth and chanted Void Sever. Space split open into a black fissure, tearing toward the evil god. But before the attack could even get close, it was forcibly destroyed by some unknown strength. Daniel tightened his grip on the staff, his expression complicated. This staff had been shoved into his hand by a comrade in their final moments. Back then, blood had splattered all over Daniel's neck, and in the end, his friend had only managed to say one sentence. "Daniel, I'm leaving that big dumb bastard to you." Daniel gave a bitter laugh and poured the last of his mana into the staff. Crack dash. The staff exploded from the middle, fragments spraying across his face. Daniel looked at the shattered pieces and merely spat to the side. Then he raised his head and looked at the gargantuan existence in the sky, so vast it defied imagination, and let both arms fall loosely to his sides. As casually as if he had just finished a team raid, he said in an easy tone, "Forget it. Still can't kill this damn thing." The next second, a tentacle large enough to blot out the heavens smashed down toward him. Damn, this makes 4 times already. Daniel jolted upright against the headboard, unexpectedly calm. He went to the bathroom and splashed water on his face. The face reflected in the mirror was clean and youthful, and his hands were free of even the slightest callus. Beep, beep, beep. Crossera Game Stellar will officially begin open beta at 10 a.m. All game enthusiasts, please prepare to register. Stellar. Daniel stared at the unfamiliar yet deeply familiar push notification on his phone screen and froze for a moment. He had already seen this exact same message for times. Still, he quickly adjusted his mood, returned to his room, and lay down in the gaming pod that had only been delivered yesterday. Stellar. This game had appeared out of nowhere on August 15th, occupying the screens of every electronic device in the world.
Noticer.
No press conference. No official website. It had even forcefully hijacked the evening news on the Imperial Capital Channel. For a while, countless people guessed that some gaming giant had secretly been cooking up the ultimate bombshell for years. But Daniel knew better. It absolutely was not. 3 years later, this game would no longer be just a game. All those people outside scrambling for jobs, earning baby formula money, or wandering around high out of their minds, they would all be forced into a completely different way of life. But thinking about that now was pointless. At this moment, only one thing was on Daniel's mind: to seize every single opportunity to grow stronger using his knowledge of the future.
Lock in. Ding.
Connection successful. Welcome to Stellar. Daniel felt a sudden flash before his eyes. When he opened them again, beneath his feet stretched a dazzling river of stars.
Stellar Plaza.
The place was packed like a wet market, with no end in sight. Some people craned their necks up at the ceiling in amazement. Some were freaking out in disbelief. Some were even squatting down to touch the floor, checking whether this was really full-dive VR. Daniel didn't bother looking. He strode straight into the towering stellar hall ahead of him, and the noise and chaos around him vanished in an instant. A cold system prompt rang out immediately. Please enter your game ID. He typed with practiced ease. Faustus. It wasn't that he was trying to be dramatic. He had just grown used to it after a few hundred years. He had learned the word back in high school Latin class, even though he had failed that class more than once. Still, the word had stuck with him.
It meant
the lucky one. Back in guild chat, those idiots used to call him things like faux dog, Faustas, and Faustard. Now that nobody called him that anymore, he actually felt a little unaccustomed to it.
Ding.
ID available. Beginning first talent draw. An animation began spinning above the selection platform, while the draw rates floated at the bottom right. SSS rank talent. 0.00000000001%. SS rank talent. 0.000000001%. S rank talent. 0.0000003%. A rank talent. The probabilities for every talent, from the highest SSS rank down to the lowest E rank, were listed there. But this time, Daniel did not rush to draw. Instead, his gaze fell on the tiny, easily overlooked line of text at the very bottom of the wheel. Please enter redemption code. A complicated look flashed through Daniel's eyes. The truth was, he had already gone through 4 rebirths. He had spent a full 200 years in the world of Stellar. And in all that time, he had never seen a single person use this feature. The Earth Council had never officially released any code. The forum had argued for thousands of pages without getting anywhere. That input box had basically been nothing more than decoration, sitting there untouched. The code required exactly 24 characters. And for some reason, 4 segments of runes surfaced in Daniel's mind. They were the bizarre symbols carved into the reward steel each time he had cleared an SSS rank forbidden secret realm for the first time across his 4 rebirths. They were neither Elvish nor Dragon Tongue, nor even the rarest ancient god script. He had asked nearly every race he could find about them. None recognized them. But Daniel had always felt that these things had to mean something. So he had memorized them by force. 4 rune segments. 6 symbols each. 24 in total. He raised his hand and began writing them stroke by stroke, his fingertip trailing a faint golden light. As the final rune took shape, the lighting inside the entire stellar hall dimmed for 3 full seconds.
Ding.
Congratulations, player Faustus, for obtaining the SSS rank unique hidden talent. Million-fold boost. Effect. Anything you sell can be returned to you a million-fold. Daniel froze for 3 seconds. Then his brain crashed. Million-fold boost? Sell something worth $1 and get $1 million back? Wait, that was actually a real redemption code. He stared at the short, simple description in his talent panel and read it 3 more times. Before Daniel could recover from the shock, another cold system prompt interrupted his thoughts.
Ding.
Please choose your base class. Before his eyes flashed 5 starting classes. Mage, Warrior, Priest, Summoner, Archer. Daniel was already intimately familiar with the first 4. In his previous rebirths, he had experienced every class except Archer and had even taken each of them to heights beyond the reach of ordinary people. But no matter how strong he became with his foreknowledge, every time he faced the evil god, he felt the same crushing sense of powerlessness. And now, only one class remained untried. Archer. Thinking of it, Daniel couldn't help but recall Archer's notorious reputation. A warrior could buy a sword and use it for half a year. But an archer? A single quiver of good arrows was barely enough for one group battle. A mage could spend a few thousand gold coins on a staff and use it for ages. But an archer's bow, arrows, enchanted accessories. They were all horrifyingly expensive consumables. Large guilds could afford to raise archers because they had mines, resources, and money. But for solo players, choosing archer meant one of 2 endings. Either delete the character and re-roll, or sign away your life to a major guild or financial consortium, working like a slave to pay off your debt. The overwhelming majority of solo archers couldn't even survive the early game, much less grow strong on their own. It could be said that archer was absolutely forbidden territory for solo players. But when Daniel looked at the description of his talent, the corner of his mouth twitched upward. Million-fold boost. The most gold-hungry class in his previous life. In this life, he was a goddamn money printer.
Ding.
Welcome to Starter Village number 616. Daniel's vision blurred for a moment. When he opened his eyes again, he was already standing in a stone-paved plaza. The buildings around him were all medieval in style wooden stalls, thatched roofs, and in the distance, a blacksmith shop ringing non-stop with clanging metal. If not for the semi-transparent system panel floating overhead, most people would probably have thought they had been transported straight into the Middle Ages. Daniel instinctively swept his gaze over the surroundings. The plaza was packed shoulder to shoulder with newly spawned players. Some were still touching their own faces in disbelief, some were squatting down to pry at the floor tiles, and one guy was hugging the scarecrow at the village entrance while shouting, "Mom, look at me. World Channel. Holy crap, this is way too real. It actually hurts when I pinch myself. Anyone want to party up? I've got 10 years of MMO experience. I can speedrun Starter Village." Forget that, tell me if this game lets you kill people. I want to see what being red-named feels like. Help. I spawn next to a manure cart. The smell is insane. Daniel's mouth twitched as he looked at the flood of messages. 200 years ago, he had been one of these clueless newbies too, yelling at NPCs for half the day and hoping to trigger some hidden quest. Now, though, he directly closed the world channel and opened his character panel. Player, Faustus. Level 1. Class, Archer. Talent, Millionfold Boost, SSS rank unique hidden. He opened his inventory. Inside was the standard starter bow. Attack +3, range, 20 meters, reload time, 1.5 seconds.
Starter Eros ganger 1-0.
As crude as ever. Daniel stared at the starter bow. The wooden grip looked cheap and fragile. But as he looked at that piece of junk, his eyes lit up.
Wait.
If he could sell the starter bow and get a millionfold return, then worth a try. Without another word, Daniel turned and ran toward the small shop at the edge of the plaza. It was the only NPC-run general store in Starter Village. A sign hung outside the entrance. "We buy all kinds of materials at fair prices." Behind the counter stood a squinting old man with a line of text floating above his head. General Merchant Gray. "Boss, I want to sell something." Daniel slapped the starter shortbow onto the counter.
Oh.
Old Gray narrowed his eyes and looked it over. "A starter bow, huh? Purchase price. 1 copper coin. Sold." Gray froze for a moment, probably because he had never seen such a bizarre newbie before. Still, he fished out a single copper coin from under the counter and handed it over. At that exact moment, a burst of laughter erupted nearby. Daniel turned his head and saw a circle of players behind him pointing and whispering. "No way, did I just see that right? This guy sold his starter weapon. He sold his bow right at the beginning? What's he planning to do? Punch monsters to death?
Ha 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 ha, I'm Dane.
Has he gone broke already? What can 1 copper coin even do? He's probably a total noob who doesn't know basic game mechanics. An archer without a weapon is just dead weight. Buddy, take it back while you still can. Once the NPC refuses refunds, you'll be crying." Daniel swept a glance over them and merely nodded calmly.
Ding.
Detected player has sold an item. SSS rank talent. Millionfold boost activated. Sold item. Starter shortbow. Common grade. Millionfold boost in progress. Please choose enhancement direction. Quantity or quality. Daniel frowned. Who the hell would choose to receive 1 million starter bows?
Ding.
Congratulations, player has obtained 100 gold coins.
Ding.
Congratulations, player has obtained Moon Reaper, legendary grade. 100 gold coins. Daniel took a deep breath, forcibly suppressing the shock in his heart. The exchange rate between copper coins, silver coins, and gold coins was 1:1,000, which meant, as long as it was something obtained after a sale, even currency could trigger millionfold boost. Legendary grade weapon. But compared to the legendary grade weapon, those 100 gold coins suddenly seemed almost insignificant. In the world of Stellar, weapon grades were divided into common grade, bronze grade, iron grade, silver grade, gold grade, platinum grade, black gold grade, epic grade, legendary grade, supreme grade. All grades below gold grade were still within the bounds of ordinary understanding. But from gold grade onward, weapon power became more and more absurd, especially epic grade, and above those could already be called divine weapons, casually granting attributes on the level of plucking stars and shooting down moons. At that point, it was no longer a matter of too valuable to buy. It was a matter of barely ever seeing one at all. Even during the final stage of the war against the evil god, the number of legendary grade weapons in the hands of humanity could be counted on one's fingers. As for supreme grade, no one had ever even seen one. And yet now, right at the very start, he had obtained a legendary grade weapon. Even Daniel himself was stunned. He opened his inventory. Lying quietly inside was a longbow of pure silver white, glowing faintly with a soft radiance. Moon Reaper, legendary grade. Level 1 can grow. Base attack power plus 500. Each hit additionally deals 5% of the target's max HP as bonus damage. Skill 1. Infinite rapid fire. No reloading required. Draw and shoot instantly. Attack speed depends entirely on the player's hand speed. Skill 2. Explosive arrow. Arrows explode upon hitting the target. Explosion damage equals 100% of the sum of the player's 4 core attributes.
Explosion radius 5 mètres.
Skill 3. Attribute amplification. Every point of strength/agility/constitution/intelligence grants an additional 10 attack power. Note: this weapon cannot be dropped, traded, or destroyed. Description: a divine weapon left behind from the age of Ragnarok. Once wielded by the great sage of the elven god race, it pierced through 3 planes with a single arrow. Later, it was redeemed from a general store by a humble human for 1 copper coin. Daniel's breathing quickened. He stared at the bow in silence for a full 10 seconds. Then he quietly closed the inventory, his face completely expressionless. The people at the entrance were still laughing. Oh man, this guy's gone stupid. He's just staring at his inventory in a daze. He's probably regretting it now, haraha. Sold his entire future for 1 copper coin. Hurry up, screenshot it. Post it in World Channel. Starter Village has produced a true genius. Daniel lifted his head and glanced at them. He was in too good a mood to bother with them. Instead, he turned back to old Gray. Boss, do you buy arrows too? Gray raised a brow. Although surprised, he still nodded. Starter arrows are sold in bundles of 10. 1 bundle buys for 1 copper coin. Daniel immediately sold all 10 arrows in his inventory and got another copper coin.
Ding.
Million-fold boost activated. Please choose enhancement direction. Daniel thought for a moment. This time, he chose quantity boost. After all, no matter how good arrows were, they were still consumables. He had no interest in wasting one-time divine arrows on trash mobs. Item successfully sold. Starter arrows. Enhancement return in progress. Congratulations, player has obtained 100 gold coins. Standard arrows times 1, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. Very quickly, his inventory space was neatly stacked with 1 million arrows. The corners of Daniel's mouth couldn't help but rise. 1 million arrows. Even if he fired 30 arrows per second, it would still take him nearly 10 straight hours to use them all up. And yet the people beside him were still laughing. Haha, this idiot sold his arrows too. He sold all 10 starting arrows. What's he gonna use to kill monsters now?
Love.
No, wait, look at his expression. Why is he smiling? Hold on, the guy's actually pretty handsome. He's not secretly crazy, is he? Daniel completely ignored them. He tried taking out some of the arrows in his inventory and selling them again.
Beep.
This item cannot be sold. As expected, the system wasn't about to let him abuse an infinite nesting exploit. He closed his inventory, turned around, and walked straight out. Hey, bro, where are you going without a weapon? Seriously, how about this? You call me big bro, and I'll carry you through some small mobs. Daniel didn't even look back. They weren't people from the same world at all. There was no need to waste words. At the northwest corner of Starter Village, beneath an old scholar tree, a young man in a gray mage robe was squatting there. He was holding a book, but his eyes kept drifting toward the passing players. Floating above his head was a line of text. Main City Magic Academy student, Adrian. Daniel walked over and spoke directly. Hello, I'd like to accept a commission quest. Adrian raised his head and looked him over, a trace of disdain flashing through his eyes. Get lost. I'm contemplating life. Daniel pulled out 12 copper coins and handed them over. Every player started with 10 copper coins in initial funds, plus the 2 he had earned from selling items. Adrian's eyes lit up instantly. No matter how small the money, meat was still meat. Ahem, well, there is something. Adrian stuffed the copper coins into his sleeve at lightning speed, then lowered his voice. There's a village not far from Starter Village called Windmill Town. Something strange has been happening there lately. I need someone to investigate what exactly is going on. I'd be happy to help. Daniel wasn't surprised in the slightest. Just a friendly warning, Adrian said. The villagers there have been showing signs of beastification. Beastification. That's right. Some people transform into beasts in the middle of the night and attack their neighbors. Those who get attacked soon begin showing the same symptoms as well. It spreads from person to person. Adrian's expression turned grave. The academy sent me here to investigate, but I can't handle it alone. I need help.
Ding.
Hidden quest triggered. Investigate the beastification mystery of Windmill Town.
Quest difficulty, G rank.
Quest objective. Travel to Windmill Town, investigate the source of the beastification phenomenon, and collect at least 3 clues. Quest rewards. EXP plus 500, silver coins plus 10, contribution points plus 200. Accept? Daniel accepted immediately. A few passing players nearby happened to see the scene and froze. Holy crap! Isn't this NPC the one who always squats here ignoring people? I tried talking to him before. He acted all high and mighty and wouldn't trigger anything no matter what I said. How the hell did this guy activate it? Daniel stood up and dusted off his pants. Of course he knew how to trigger it. Back in his previous life, he had only discovered it while grinding strategy guides. This Adrian wasn't some ordinary NPC at all. He was a genius student from the main City Magic Academy, and also a key figure in the later main storyline involving the beastification plague. And there was only one requirement to unlock his quest. Pay him. At least 10 copper coins was enough. Unfortunately, most players in the early game saved their copper coins for potions and supplies. By the time they remembered this NPC later, Adrian had long since left Starter Village. System notice. You have accepted an investigation quest for the high-level map Windmill Town. Contribution points plus 10. Current contribution points, 10. New arrival. Daniel opened the map. Everything around Starter Village was still gray, except for Windmill Town, where a red exclamation mark had lit up. That was a high-level map. Under normal circumstances, players needed to be at least level 20 before they could enter. But after taking this quest, he could go in right now at level 1. Of course, for anyone other than him, even if they somehow took this hidden quest by accident, they'd still have to wait before completing it. Trying to go there before level 10 was basically suicide. Daniel glanced back in the direction of Starter Village Plaza. Most players were still running around trying to find rabbits, chasing chickens and dogs all over the place, competing happily, as if their lives depended on it. Daniel looked at the Moon Reaper in his inventory, and the corner of his mouth curled upward. He took the bow out and lightly pulled the string. The instant the empty string vibrated, a heavy shockwave burst through the air. The few players nearby were so startled they dropped onto their asses. What the hell was that? He's got some glowing bow in his hand. Where did that come from? No way, bro, are you playing a cracked version of the game? Daniel ignored them. He slung the bow over his back and strode straight out of Starter Village. Behind him, the World Channel exploded. World Channel. By the gods, there's a hacker in Starter Village 616. Some player got a glowing bow from who knows where. A glowing bow. Stop joking around. Only weapons above gold grade glow. Are you blind or what? No way that's real. Does this game actually have planted accounts? Where's the screenshot? Post the screenshot. Didn't get one. The light was too blinding. Daniel chuckled at the messages and closed the channel. A planted account? Well, in a certain sense he really was a closed beta veteran. He lifted his head. In the distance, he could already see the windmills of Windmill Town turning slowly. Daniel stepped into Windmill Town, and a dense fog immediately rushed at his face, reducing visibility to less than 10 meters. A foul odor slammed straight into his brain. Daniel frowned and took the Moon Reaper off his back. The surroundings were deathly quiet. Every now and then, a low beastly growl drifted out from the depths of the mist-sounding part wolf, part human. Daniel lightened his footsteps and moved along the wall. No matter how much combat experience he had, it couldn't change the fact that right now he was only a fragile level 1 player. In a high-level map like this, even getting grazed could injure him badly. Getting hit head-on could mean instant death. He had walked about 50 meters when he suddenly stopped. It was too quiet. According to his memories from his previous life, the monster density in Windmill Town was extremely high. There was no way he should have gone this long without encountering one. And just then, a rustling sound suddenly came from the alley to his right. Daniel pivoted sideways and raised his bow, his eyes locked on the alley entrance. The next second, a pair of green glowing eyes lit up in the fog. Then came a second pair. A third. Roar dash. A monster covered in gray fur lunged out of the mist. It had a human face and a beast's body. Its mouth stretched all the way to its ears, filled with jagged teeth still hanging with scraps of flesh. With one swipe of its claw, the stone door beside it shattered like wet paper. Iron-grade beast turned, LV-15. Daniel's pupils contracted. What the hell? The first one I meet is already an iron-grade template? He didn't hesitate for even a second and leapt backward on the spot. In barely the blink of an eye, the monster had already rushed in front of him and slammed one claw down where he had just been standing.
Boom.
The stone pavement was smashed open into a crater the size of a wash basin. Flying gravel struck Daniel's legs hard enough to sting. HP minus 20. What the hell? My total HP is only 100. This is insane. Daniel spun his bow around and loosed an arrow in one smooth motion.
Bang.
A streak of silver flashed through the air as the arrow buried itself deep in the monster's chest. And then,
boom.
Minus 1,500. A crimson damage number floated above the monster's head. By sheer terrible luck, the creature had instantly triggered both the critical hit and explosion effects and was killed on the spot. The blast rang through Daniel's ears, and the shockwave blew away all the surrounding fog. Half the monster's upper body was blown clean off. Rotten flesh and shattered bones sprang across the ground while the remaining half of its corpse flew 5 or 6 meters backward. Daniel stood there in a daze, still holding the bow without lowering it. He looked down at the Moon Reaper in his hand, then at the smoking hole blasted into the wall nearby.
What the hell?
He knew that shot would hit hard, but he hadn't expected it to hit this hard. A level 15 iron-grade monster got one shot by a single arrow?
Ding.
You have slain beast turned, LV-15. Gained 1500 EXP. Level up. Current level 2. Gained 10 attribute points. Level up. Current level 3. Gained 10 attribute points. Level up. Current level 5. Gained 10 attribute points. A string of notifications flooded his screen. Before Daniel could even recover, his level had already jumped straight to level 5. He took a deep breath and dumped all of his attribute points into agility. Agility plus 50. Originally, he had only wanted to test the bow's power. Now, though, he was starting to understand what it meant to be a walking humanoid cannon. The remaining beast turned in the alley had already been halfway through lunging out. But after seeing their companion get blown into chunks, they actually skidded to a halt on the spot. They exchanged uneasy looks, low whimpers rumbling in their throats. Daniel bared his teeth in a grin. Why run? Since you're already here, don't be shy. Under the terrified gazes of the remaining beasts turned, Daniel slowly raised his bow. Whoosh. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Arrows poured out like they cost nothing at all. And among that endless barrage, every now and then, one would strike a monster with perfect precision. Boom. Boom, boom, boom. The explosions came one after another without end, lighting up the entire street with fire. By the time the smoke cleared, the alley was left with nothing but chunks of flesh and a few smoking craters. Ding. You have slain beast turn times 7. Your level has risen to level 10. Daniel glanced at his EXP bar, then at the wreckage all over the ground. Scattered here, and there were 3 pieces of white and green-grade equipment. He couldn't help but whistle. This efficiency. In his previous life, he wouldn't have dared dream of something like this.
Ding.
Obtained common grade weapon, greatsword ×1, bronze grade magic staff ×1, bronze grade gauntlets ×1. Daniel picked up the dropped equipment. At this stage of the game, bronze grade gear was still hard currency. There was no need to worry about selling it. He opened the map to confirm his direction, then carried his bow deeper into town. The explosions never stopped along the way. If he ran into a lone monster, 1 arrow was enough, no matter what level it was. If he ran into groups of 3 or 5, a single shot could blast through the whole pack. 10 arrows later, both monsters and walls alike would be reduced to rubble. The more Daniel fought, the smoother it felt. Once he got into rhythm, he even started showing off a little. 1 arrow pierced through 3 monsters, making all 3 explode together. Or, he would deliberately use ground blasts to launch clusters of monsters into the air. Half an hour later, he was already standing beside the fountain in the center of town. Level 20. He evenly distributed the newly gained 150 attribute points among strength, intelligence, constitution, and agility. Including the base 10 points in each stat, his 4 core attributes now looked like this. Strength, 45. Intelligence, 45. Agility, 105.
Constitution, 45.
Aside from agility, the exclusive primary stat for archers, Daniel did not underestimate the other 3 at all. Knowing how the future would unfold, he understood perfectly well that every stat had an important role to play. After all, in the future, these attribute points would affect his real body as well.
Daniel checked the time. 11:50 a.m.
10 minutes left. That was right one of the reasons he had accepted this quest, was to claim Adrian's hidden questline and rewards. But there was another purpose as well. A wandering merchant would spawn here. The items sold by this kind of merchant were mostly basic supplies, but on very rare occasions, they could carry truly valuable goods. Some people had even once found legendary grade items in a wandering merchant stock. Normally, merchants like these did not spawn at any fixed location. But during the current newbie period, this one was guaranteed to appear in Windmill Town. Once the number of players entering Windmill Town exceeded 100, his spawn point would no longer remain fixed. And the reason Daniel was waiting for him was because there was a very high chance the merchant would be selling a class awakening scroll. In his previous life, Daniel had come here specifically to verify this, and sure enough, he had indeed found that class awakening scroll in the merchant's inventory. Roar. Right then, a series of low growls rose from the fog. Daniel swept his gaze around the fountain. Shadows of monsters loomed everywhere in the mist. The nearest few had already noticed him, baring their fangs as they crept closer. Daniel rolled his neck, then raised his bow. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. For the next 10 minutes, the center of Windmill Town sounded like a war zone. Explosions came wave after wave, and flames shot into the sky. If nearby players could have seen the scene, they probably would have suspected the game had bugged out.
11:59 a.m.
As the final monster fell, Daniel put away his bow and looked toward the fountain. The next second, the air suddenly warped. A middle-aged man in a tattered cloak appeared out of nowhere. He pushed a small cart piled high with assorted goods and stood smiling beside the fountain. Wandering merchant, Marcus. Looks like you came right on time, friend. Marcus narrowed his eyes as he sized Daniel up. A little guy at level 20 and you managed to stay alive here? Not bad. Daniel didn't waste words with him and directly opened the shop list. Inside were stacks of potions and materials, all with unlimited purchase quantities. In the limited purchase section, he saw an iron-grade warrior armor, a bottle of rare MP potion, and even a silver-grade arcane staff. If he could buy and resell those, he didn't even dare imagine what kind of return he might get. But unfortunately, the limited purchase section allowed him to buy only one item, and his real target was not the staff. At the very end of that section, he saw a roll of parchment. Universal Class Awakening Scroll, B rank. Price, 100 gold coins. Description, an utterly ordinary class awakening scroll. Upon use, it will randomly class change the user into a special class corresponding to their current class. Utterly ordinary. Daniel said nothing, but this item only looked random on the surface. In truth, it was the only item in the early game that had a chance of producing a top-tier class. The catch was that the probability was absurdly low, 99.99% of the time, it would only turn into some ordinary special class. Rather than waste that much money on such terrible odds, most players would rather just go to the village chief in Starter Village and get a free class advancement. That was why nobody ever bought it. But Daniel didn't need probability. He directly clicked purchase. Gold coins minus 100. Marcus's eyes lit up. Oh, a decisive customer. Daniel took the scroll, but instead of using it immediately, he looked up and asked, "Boss, do you buy things too?" Marcus froze for a second, then nodded.
Sure.
What? You've got something good. Daniel handed the scroll he had just bought right back over.
This.
Marcus looked at it, and his expression turned a little strange. Items sold here can't be refunded. Of course. I'm not asking for a refund. I'm selling it to you. You bought it just to sell it? Seeing Daniel nod without hesitation, Marcus's mind went into chaos. This guy, was he mentally ill? Fine. Buyback price, 10 gold coins. The transaction was completed.
Ding.
Detected sold item. Universal Class Awakening Scroll. Sale price, 10 gold coins. Million-fold boost activated.
Ding.
Obtained. Gold coins times 10, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. Player selected quality boost. Returned corresponding item. Burst Shot God Class Awakening Scroll, unique. A red scroll instantly appeared in his inventory. Marcus stared at the scroll in his own hand, then at Daniel, his face full of disbelief. Daniel had no mood to pay attention to him. He impatiently opened the red scroll in his inventory. In the world of Stellar, classes were clearly ranked in strength. F, E, D, C, B, A, S, 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 S. But beyond those there existed even rarer classes. Unique, Supreme Grade, and God Grade classes. Each of those three categories was unique in existence, impossible to seek by force, and every single one possessed overwhelming power. Just thinking about how a B-rank Universal Scroll had turned into a unique grade class Awakening Scroll simply by reselling it made Daniel's heart surge with joy.
Ding.
You have used Burst Shot God Class Awakening Scroll, unique. Beginning class change. Congratulations. You have class changed into unique hidden class. Burst Shot God. Class traits. All bow skill damage plus 1000%. Range plus 500%. Critical rate plus 300%. Arrows can ignore armor and resistance, piercing through targets. All arrows gain explosive effects, explosion core damage plus 1000%. Attribute points gained per level. 10 to 20. Daniel's eyelid twitched as he read the last line. 20 attribute points per level? So if other people gained 10 points per level, then every level up for him was equal to 2 levels for everyone else? Nearby, Marcus the wandering merchant was still muttering to himself. How strange. Where the hell did this nouveau riche come from? Shaking his head, he pushed his cart onward and quickly disappeared into the fog. Daniel took a deep breath and felt power surging through his body. He looked up and saw a monster crouched on a rooftop in the distance, looking around warily. He raised his hand and fired a single arrow. The arrow turned into a streak of light, pierced straight through the monster's chest, then buried itself into the head of the second monster behind it. And then 2 explosions rang out almost at the same time.
Boom. Boom.
The 2 monsters were blasted directly into pieces.
Ding.
You have slain wolf-type beast turn times 2. Gained 1800 EXP.
Ding.
You have obtained Murky Crystal Fragment times 1. Daniel bent down and picked up the thumb-sized crystal from beside the monster's corpse, holding it up to the light for a closer look. The grayish-white crystal was covered in cracks, and within it, faint black threads seemed to writhe as if alive. Even in his hand, it gave off a slight, almost imperceptible warmth. The next moment, the system description unfolded before his eyes. Murky Crystal Fragment, quest item. Description: a crystal fragment containing strange energy. It seems to point toward the source of some kind of infection. Collect 3 to complete this investigation quest. 1/3. A faint smile curled at Daniel's lips. He remembered it clearly. This kind of fragment was actually the core byproduct of the beastification infection. Any monster that had been deeply infected would condense, one inside its body. The more he collected, the more the NPC's favorability would rise when he turned in the quest at the end. And that money-grubbing scholar Adrian? If you maxed out his favorability, he could cough up some truly good stuff. Daniel tossed the fragment into his inventory and continued deeper into Windmill Town. For the rest of the day, the monsters of Windmill Town were in for absolute misery. From East Street to West Street, anything that could still breathe, whether it was an ordinary level 15 beast turned, a level 20 iron grade monster, or even those little mobs that had just respawned in the corners of walls and hadn't even had time to open their eyes yet. The moment a thunderous blast rang out, they vanished. Daniel was like a walking harvester. Everywhere he passed, explosions linked together into an endless chain, flames soaring into the sky. Every now and then, players in the distance would catch sight of the flashes and hear the explosions from afar. Terrified, they would turn and run, thinking the game had glitched out somehow. By evening, in the center of Windmill Town, Daniel opened his inventory. Murky Crystal Fragment times 97. Level 35. He put all 300 newly gained attribute points into agility, preparing for the battle ahead. Daniel enlarged the map. 2 kilometers north of Windmill Town, there was a small mine icon. Beside it was a tiny label. Windmill Town Mining Cooperative, abandoned. Familiar memories surged into his mind instantly. The mine. The root of Windmill Town's beastification lay inside that mine. He still remembered that, in his first life, one of the major guilds had pushed their exploration all the way here and unearthed a buried piece of history. The miners of Windmill Town had dug too deep while mining. In the process, they broke through a layer of rock and discovered an ancient church buried deep underground. That place was the source of the villagers' beastification. After the miners were infected, they returned to town and passed it on to the villagers. 1 infected 10, 10 infected 100, and just like that, all of Windmill Town was doomed. And most importantly, that mine had a fixed drop, a universal movement skill book. Daniel's thought sharpened. A movement skill. Having reincarnated 4 times, he understood better than anyone how important movement skills were, especially when fighting bosses. Whether you had a movement skill or not made it feel like 2 entirely different games. One version was getting chased all over the map by the boss. The other was kiting the boss around like you were walking a dog. Without another word, Daniel grabbed his bow and headed north. The 2-kilometer journey took only 10 minutes. The entrance to the mine was halfway up a hill, concealed behind a dense mass of vines. If it hadn't been marked on the map, there would have been no way to discover it. A crooked wooden sign stood at the entrance. The writing on it had long since faded, but a few words could still barely be made out. Windmill Town Mining. No unauthorized entry. A rotten stench 10 times stronger than the one in town drifted out from the cave, making Daniel frown deeply. He took out a torch and lit it, then inhaled deeply before stepping into the entrance.
Ding.
You have discovered a new map. Abandoned Mine, Floor 1. Recommended level, 20 to 30. Current exploration, 0%. The mine was extremely dark. The torch only illuminated a radius of 2 or 3 meters around him. The ground was littered with overturned mine carts, rusted pickaxes, and scattered ore. There were shallow mining marks on the walls, but even more than that, there was black moss everywhere, slick and slimy to the touch. Daniel lightened his steps and moved forward slowly. He had gone 50 meters before a rustling sound came from up ahead. He planted the torch into the wall, then raised the Moon Reaper and aimed toward the source of the sound. Very soon, 3 humanoid monsters staggered out from around the corner. They were still wearing tattered miner uniforms, with rusted pickaxes hanging at their waists. Their skin was an unnatural grayish-black, and parts of their bodies bulged with fist-sized lumps, as though something inside them was writhing beneath the skin. Their eyes were completely clouded over, and low, unconscious rasping noises came from their throats. Beast turned miner, LV-22. Beast turned miner, LV-22. Beast turned miner, LV-23. TCH. What a miserable sight. Daniel shook his head, drew his bow, and fired.
Whoosh.
One arrow pierced through the chest of the first miner. The arrow had exited from its back and buried itself into the belly of the second.
Boom. Boom.
The 2 explosions went off almost simultaneously. The 3 closely packed miners were blasted into the air together, chunks of flesh splattering all over the wall. But the next instant, a cracking sound came from overhead. Daniel looked up, and his expression changed slightly. The explosion had shaken several cracks loose in the ceiling of the mine, and bits of rock were already falling down in a shower. WTF, I forgot this is a mine. He immediately ran forward. Behind him came a thunderous boom, and the spot where he had been standing was buried under a pile of rubble in the blink of an eye. Daniel wiped cold sweat from his forehead. Looks like I'll need to control the blast radius. I can't just go wild inside a mine. If a cave-in buried me alive, that'd be one hell of a joke. After all, Stellar's freedom level was absurdly high. He had personally seen players embezzle quest items after accepting a mission, only to end up being put on a wanted list by the NPC who gave them the quest. From there on, Daniel fought much more cautiously. Whenever possible, he avoided triggering explosions. Although pure piercing damage from arrows had limited effect against these half-dead things, quantity made up for everything. After all, how was a monster supposed to survive when its entire body was full of arrows? Whenever he ran into large groups of monsters, Daniel would fire one arrow and immediately reposition to avoid getting crushed by falling rocks. By the time he cleared the first floor, his level had risen to 40, and the loot wasn't bad either. Obtained. Rusted pickaxe ×5, common grade. Obtained. Durable warrior armor, bronze grade. Obtained. Rare longsword, bronze grade. Obtained. Murky crystal fragment ×12. Obtained. Copper coins. Then, he continued down to the second floor. And there, beast turned overseers, LV-25 appeared. These monsters were a head taller than ordinary miners. They held whips in their hands and wore slightly more presentable clothing, suggesting that they had managed others while alive. Their attack patterns had changed too. They would lash out with their whips first, then blow whistles to summon smaller mobs. Back in his first life, Daniel had nearly suffered at the hands of these things. The moment he killed an overseer, several miners had rushed out from the side and cornered him, hammering away until his HP dropped by a third before he barely managed to survive. But this time, if you can even touch me, I lose. The moment Daniel encountered a monster, the arrows in his hands flew, like they were free. The entire group of monsters barely managed a few steps before they were turned into human pincushions.
Ding.
You have slain beast turned overseer, LV-30. Gained 23,950 XP. Current level, 45. Obtained. Hardened shield, bronze grade. Rumble dash. As a thunderous roar echoed through the mine, the gate to the third floor slowly opened. The environment on the third floor was extremely eerie. The walls were covered in black, crystalline veins, spreading out like blood vessels. Large numbers of crystallized miners, LV-35 poured out from around the corners. The bulges on these monsters' bodies had burst open, sprouting black crystals that covered them like hedgehog spines. These monsters had incredibly high defense. Ordinary attacks dealt only single-digit damage. But Daniel had explosive arrows that ignored armor, and on top of that, the walls here were already covered in those strange crystal membranes, making the structure exceptionally sturdy. A streak of red arrow light shot forward. Rumble dash. Entire groups of crystallized monsters were blasted into pieces. What a dull and tedious process, he muttered, while his harvesting speed only grew faster and faster. He had no idea how long he had been killing when the space ahead of him suddenly opened up. It was a naturally formed underground hall, about half the size of a football field. At the far end of the hall stood a massive iron gate, carved with twisted symbols that glowed faintly red. In front of the gate stood a hulking monster. It was nearly 3 meters tall, its entire body covered in thick black crystals, and in its hand it gripped a massive pickaxe. No, not quite. That pickaxe had already fused with its arm, becoming part of its body. Its eyes glowed with 2 crimson lights, fixed directly on Daniel. Beast turned guard, LV-40, iron grade. Daniel sucked in a breath. This thing looked a lot fiercer than the iron grade monsters in Windmill Town. He instinctively took a step back and crushed a piece of gravel underfoot. Crack. At the same time, the beast turned guard moved. It gave no roar, no warning. It simply raised its pickaxe and brought it smashing down toward Daniel's head. Boom. Shattered stone flew everywhere, and the ground was smashed into a crater the size of a wash basin. Daniel dodged quickly and fired an arrow in return. The arrow sank into the guard's chest, then exploded. Boom. A bowl-sized hole was blown open in the guard's chest, and black crystal shards scattered all over the floor. Minus 8,230. The black explosion damage was shockingly eye-catching. But its HP had only dropped by around 1/10. Daniel's pupils contracted. That HP. This thing should make a decent target dummy for a while. To be honest, Daniel felt that his biggest weakness right now was that his archery accuracy was pretty average. If 5 out of 10 arrows hit the enemy, that already counted as a high hit rate. And now, with such a durable moving monster standing right in front of him, it was the perfect chance to practice. The battle lasted a full 5 minutes. Daniel had never enjoyed a fight this much. This beast turned guard's HP was absurdly thick, at least 10 times that of an ordinary iron grade monster. Its attack range was also enormous. Once that giant pickaxe started swinging, everything within 10 meters became a death zone. More interestingly, it could even hurl mineral fragments like a machine gun, sending them flying with rapid-fire whoosh 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 sounds. Daniel dodged while shooting, and his explosive arrows never stopped for even a moment. Thankfully, he had maxed out agility in advance. Facing those whistling attacks, a stream of miss notifications kept popping above his head. 1 arrow, 2 arrows, 3 arrows. The monster's HP rapidly fell. 90%, 80%, 70%, just as tanky as I thought. He kept kiting it, making full use of his agility advantage as he circled through the wide-open hall. Several times, he almost got smashed by the pickaxe, barely dodging in the nick of time. Finally, in the 5th minute, the guard's HP hit bottom. It let out one final furious roar, and all the crystals on its body suddenly exploded. A self-destruct. Daniel had already been prepared. He leapt backward, dodging the shockwave. Boom. The explosion blasted broken rocks all over him, dropping his HP by 10%. But the guard finally fell, its huge body crashing to the floor and kicking up a cloud of dust. Ding! You have slain Beast turned guard iron grade LV-40, gaining 14,357 EXP. Obtained, Shadow Step Skill Book, A rank, Universal. Obtained, Murky Crystal Fragment ×5. Obtained, Iron Grade Standard Armor ×1. Daniel's eyes lit up instantly, and he hurriedly looked toward the skill book. Shadow Step, A rank. Type, Active Skill. Effect, instantly dash 5 meters in a chosen direction. Cooldown, 10 seconds. Mana/stamina cost, 100. Class restriction, none. Description, a high-level movement technique that keeps enemies from so much as touching your clothes. Daniel's eyes brightened. An A-rank movement skill. Even if it was just a basic version with a range of 5 meters, movement skills were god tier in the early game. Especially for fragile classes like Archer and Mage. Once enemies got into melee range, death was practically guaranteed. Having a movement skill was like having an extra life. Suddenly, Daniel thought of something and opened the communication channel. At this moment, the world channel was as lively as a marketplace. WTF, I finally hit level 5. Anyone want to party up? The free market is open. Brothers charge. Selling white rabbit dagger. 1 silver coin each. PM me if you want one. Need a carry. I'm a girl, nice voice. The guy above is definitely a dude, right? Yesterday, you were saying you wanted to go red name from piking people. Daniel smiled faintly as he read the scrolling messages. The market had opened. With the experience of several lifetimes, he knew exactly what would happen next. The major guilds and financial groups would rush in like sharks smelling blood, Feng Kong Sao, sweeping up goods in a frenzy. Anything valuable would find a buyer, no matter the price. He lowered his head and looked at the skill book in his hand. A movement skill in the early game. This was the kind of rare treasure you couldn't buy, even if you had money. If he sold it to players. Daniel opened the market interface, clicked list item, and placed Shadow Step up for sale. Price, 100 gold coins. Note, A rank universal movement skill. Usable by all classes. 1 fixed price. If you can't afford it, don't yap. He clicked confirm. The next second, the world channel exploded. Holy shit. Check the market. What are you freaking out about dash? WTF? An A rank skill book? A movement skill? 100 gold coins? Where the hell would anyone get 100 gold coins on day 1? Is this guy insane? Faustus, where the hell did this guy get something this good? His luck is insane. A movement skill. If I had that while getting chased down by monsters, I'd be flying. 100 gold coins is way too expensive, isn't it? Normal players could never afford that. If you can't afford it, stop yapping. He's obviously not selling it to normal players. That said, I still think anyone who buys it at this stage is making a profit. An A-rank movement skill probably won't even be outdated in the late game. Daniel watched the flood of messages in World Channel and said nothing, only smiling. Of course, he knew that 100 gold coins was expensive. But he also knew that, to those wealthy guilds, 100 gold coins was pocket change. What they wanted was the initiative. They were using money to buy time. And sure enough, in less than 3 minutes.
Ding.
Your listed item, Shadow Step Skill Book, A rank, has been purchased. Daniel's eyes lit up. Fire. Dragon Slayer, Rhine. The moment he saw that name, a faint gleam flashed through Daniel's eyes. Someone from Rhine Guild. Rhine Guild, one of the top 5 major guilds from his previous life. Behind it stood the Rhine River Consortium, with assets worth hundreds of billions. Their guild leader, Rhine Watcher, was a ruthless man who acted swiftly and decisively. But some of his subordinates were far from clean, bullying solo players by relying on the guild's power. But none of that mattered to Daniel right now. What mattered was this.
Ding.
Detected sold item, Shadow Step Skill Book, A rank, sale price, 100 gold coins. Million-fold boost activated. Obtained gold coins, 100 million. Sold item is a skill book. Quality boost triggered. Congratulations, player has obtained skill book, Godspeed, SSS rank. 100 million gold coins, plus an SSS rank skill book. Daniel took a deep breath and opened his inventory. A golden skill book lay quietly inside one of the slots. Godspeed, SSS rank. Type, active skill. Effect, instantly teleport in a designated direction, up to a maximum distance of 1 million meters. Cooldown, none. MP cost increases with distance. MP cost, base 10 points plus additional cost per meter. No extra distance cost within 1 kilometer. Beyond 1 kilometer, consumes 1 additional MP per kilometer. Special effects. 1. Afterimage clone. When the skill is used, afterimage clones are created. Clones last for 30 seconds, inherit 100% of the user's attack power, and can act independently. The number of clones depends on MP consumed. 1 clone is created for every 100 MP spent, maximum 10 clones. 2. Divine Perception. When using the skill, you can sense the locations of all living beings within a 1 kilometer radius centered on yourself. Asterisk, asterisk. Description. A divine spatial skill from the Age of Gods. 1 step forward, and the ends of the earth lie within reach. Daniel stared at the description. After the initial shock passed, he couldn't help but laugh. A 1 million meter teleport? The straight line distance from Starter Village to the main city was only about 800 kilometers. With the skill, he could take 1 step from Starter Village straight to the gates of the main city. And as long as he had enough MP, he could even chain teleports and cross the entire continent. Then there was the clone effect. 10 clones, each inheriting 100% of his attack power, lasting for 30 seconds. That meant he alone could unleash the firepower of 11 people. It was absurdly overpowered. And, most importantly, divine perception. Every living creature within a radius of 1 kilometer would be exposed to him. Any ambushing players would have nowhere to hide. Without question, it was a god-tier skill. If he really had to name a flaw, it was that it could only detect the existence and location of living beings, not every detail about them. But that hardly mattered. Daniel took a deep breath and clicked learn without hesitation.
Ding.
You have learned skill. Godspeed, SSS rank. A golden icon appeared in his skill bar. He tried activating the skill. His vision blurred for an instant, and the next second, he was already standing at the other end of the mine, at least 500 meters away from where he had just been. And his MP had only dropped by 10 points. WTF. Daniel couldn't help but curse under his breath. This skill was simply too broken. At a stage when everyone else was still crawling like turtles, he was already driving a top-tier supercar. He was just about to continue testing it when his private message channel suddenly chimed. He opened it. Rhine Watcher, private message. Lord Faustus, would you be interested in having a chat? Rhine Guild sincerely invites you to join us. The Dayud is excellent starting salary of 100,000 Earth credits per month, full equipment reimbursement, plus profit sharing. Daniel raised an eyebrow. He hadn't expected Rhine Guild's leader to really notice him so soon. A salary of 100,000? In his previous life, he remembered that when Rhine River Consortium tried to recruit top-tier experts, the opening offer had been 200,000 minimum. Offering him only 100,000 now. Did they think he was easy to buy off? A few seconds later, another private message came through. Rhine Watcher. The price is negotiable. Feel free to name your terms. Rhine Guild is more than sincere. Daniel still didn't reply. Soon after, friend requests and private messages from several other guilds came flooding in as well, but the contents were all more or less the same. Without the slightest hesitation, he blocked every single one of them. He had seen the true face of these guilds long ago in his previous life. When they wanted to recruit you, they smiled and flattered you. The moment recruitment failed, they turned hostile. Rhine Guild, in particular, was especially disgusting. On the surface, they acted fair and righteous, but behind the scenes, they suppressed solo players, monopolized resources, and even colluded with players from foreign servers to sell intelligence. There was nothing they wouldn't do. Across 4 reincarnations, Daniel had watched these resource-hoarding conglomerates drag humanity into the abyss for their own selfish profit. Cooperate with them? In their dreams. Still, Daniel glanced at the 100 million gold coins in his inventory, then at the Godspeed icon in his skill bar. Disgust was one thing. But emotions shouldn't interfere with business. Alright, time to get back to work. He stretched his body and walked toward the iron gate deeper in the mine. Beyond that gate lay the underground church. And inside that church, a boss called Beast-Turned-Father was waiting for him. This boss was incredibly fast, had wide attack coverage, enormous HP, and could summon crystal spikes to attack. Under normal circumstances, it required a full party to clear at least a 20-man team around level 50, all equipped with iron-grade gear or above, plus strong coordination, to have any chance of success. Because the difficulty of clearing it was so absurdly high, it had once earned the nickname, the Newbie Butcher. But now, Daniel looked at the newly learned Godspeed, then at the Moon Reaper in his hand. Fast, are you? Then let me show you what it means to be a man made of lightning. Daniel took a slow breath. He could already feel a faint but unmistakable pressure behind the gate, like a needle pricking the center of his forehead. This was divine perception, the passive sensing effect granted by Godspeed, already taking effect. Behind the door was a gigantic life signature, far stronger than the beast-turned-guard from earlier. A gold-grade boss. Monster tiers were divided into common grade, bronze grade, iron grade, silver grade, gold grade, platinum grade, black gold grade, epic grade, legendary grade. A gold-grade boss had already crossed a critical threshold. In terms of raw strength alone, it could crush all ordinary players of the same level. Daniel licked his lips and tightened his grip on the Moon Reaper. Behind the iron gate stretched a stone staircase descending downward. On both sides of the walls, glowing crystals had been embedded, casting the whole passage in a dim, sickly green light. Daniel lightened his steps and descended one level at a time. At the end of the stairs, the view suddenly opened up. It was a naturally formed underground hall. At the center of the hall stood a church, a Gothic spire, stained glass windows, even a rusted iron cross planted outside the entrance. The church was surrounded on all sides by dense masses of black crystal, like thorny brambles encircling it at the center. Those crystals emitted light, illuminating the underground space with an eerie radiance. Daniel frowned. This place was just as unsettling as ever. He followed the narrow path, winding through the crystal growths toward the church. He had only just reached the entrance when a low growl came from inside. It didn't sound like a beast. It sounded more like a human. Inside the church, more than a dozen pews lay overturned in disarray. The pulpit was covered in dust. More than half the stained glass windows had shattered, and that ghastly green light streamed through the broken openings. Standing before the pulpit was a gigantic figure. It wore a tattered black robe, and around its neck still hung a silver cross. The figure stood nearly 4 meters tall. Its entire right half was covered in thick black crystal. The left half barely retained a human shape, but its skin was a lifeless ash gray, crisscrossed by black vein-like patterns. Half of its face was human. The other half was crystal. One eye was murky gray-white. The other burned with a dark crimson glow. From its back grew 3 tentacles, each as thick as a bowl, ending in bony spikes. A blood-red prompt appeared above the figure's head. Beast-Turned-Father, LV-45, gold-grade boss. The moment Daniel stepped 1 foot into the church, the boss's 3 grotesque tentacles lashed toward him at the same time, moving at terrifying speed. Daniel activated Godspeed almost instinctively. His vision blurred, and in the next instant, he was already standing behind a pillar on the left side of the church. Boom! The tentacles slammed into the place where he had just been standing, instantly smashing 3 rows of pews into splinters and sending rubble flying everywhere. Daniel sucked in a breath. That speed. If he hadn't had Godspeed, that hit probably would have buried him into the ground. Having missed its first strike, the father boss turned its head and looked toward the pillar where Daniel had taken cover. The 3 tentacles rose again. But this time, Daniel didn't dodge. He directly drew his bow and fired. Whoosh! The arrow shot straight for the father's face. The father raised his left arm to block. The explosive arrow detonated on impact with his arm. With a deafening boom, black crystal shards exploded across the floor. -2,000. A red critical hit number popped up, but its total HP only dropped by around 2%. Daniel's eye twitched. 100,000 HP. That arrow of his would have dealt at least 80% to an elite monster outside the mine. And against this thing it only shaved off 2%? This bastard had at least 100,000 HP, minimum. Enraged by the arrow, the father boss threw back its head and roared. Its 3 tentacles whipped wildly through the air, making the entire church tremble. Then, all of a sudden, more than a dozen black crystal spikes burst from the ground, stabbing toward Daniel from every direction. Daniel chain-blinked with Godspeed, darting back and forth through the forest of spikes. The spikes kept chasing after him, stabbing the ground until it looked like a giant hedgehog. Holy shit, this damn AoE skill again. This ultra-wide-range attack from the Beast-Turned-Father had slaughtered countless players in his previous lives. Even Daniel himself had been wrecked by it more than once. He kept dodging while shooting, explosions echoing without end, and the father's HP slowly began to drop. 95%, 85%, 80%, but it was too slow. At this pace, he'd need to fire at least 100 arrows to kill it. 100 arrows meant about 5 minutes of combat. And during those 5 minutes, he'd have to maintain non-stop dodging. One slip up, and he'd be flattened by a tentacle. Daniel kept fighting while calculating his MP. His current intelligence was 45, giving him a total of 3,450 MP. Creating one clone required 100 MP, so 10 clones would cost 1,000 MP, leaving him with 2,450 MP to cast skills and blink. But the problem was, he had never tried controlling 10 clones at once before. He had no idea how effective it would be. Screw it, let's try. At this stage, he still had no chance to learn dedicated archer skills yet, so he could only rely on class skills and equipment skills for damage output. That meant every detail had to be calculated carefully. Spotting an opening, he immediately activated the Godspeed clone effect. With a thought, 4 afterimages appeared behind him out of thin air. Each one looked exactly like him, holding a Moon Reaper, moving in perfect sync. Daniel froze. Why are there only 4? Then he immediately understood. He had used a lot of MP fighting all the way here. Right now, he only had a little over 400 MP, just enough to create 4 clones. Damn it. Forgot about that. He hurriedly retreated, dodging tentacles while chugging MP potions. The father kept pursuing him, whip after whip coming from its tentacles, several of them nearly grazing him. 30 seconds later, the clones vanished. Fortunately, Daniel had already finished drinking his potions, and his MP had climbed back up to 3,000. He took a deep breath and used the skill again. This time, 10 afterimages appeared behind him at once, standing neatly in a row, all raising their bows together. A smile curved at Daniel's lips. Come on, let this freak taste what saturation firepower feels like. He drew his bow. The 10 afterimages behind him did the same. 11 bows were aimed at the father at the same time. The father seemed to sense the danger. Its 3 tentacles whipped wildly as it lunged toward Daniel. 11 arrows left the strings at once. Whoosh, 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 dash. It was like a rain of arrows pouring down. Before the father's tentacles had even finished lashing forward, the first wave of arrows had already hit. A thunderous explosion erupted, followed by the second wave, then the third. Its enormous body was basically a giant living target. All 11 arrows landed cleanly. Boom, 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 boom. The explosions blended into one continuous roar, illuminating the entire church with firelight. The shockwaves shattered what remained of the stained glass and even shook stalactites loose from the ceiling outside. By the time the smoke cleared, the father's HP had dropped to 50%. Daniel's eyes widened. One volley took off 30%. Before he could even celebrate, the father let out an earth-shaking roar. The entire church began to quake. The ground cracked open, and countless black crystals burst out from the fissures, growing madly. Those crystals writhed as if alive, spreading toward Daniel.
Ding.
Beast-turned father has entered Phase 2, Berserk state. Attack speed plus 50%, movement speed plus 50%, defense plus 50%, new skill. Crystal spread. Daniel's face changed instantly, and he hurried backward. But the crystal spread was fast too. Within the blink of an eye, it had already covered half the church. He could only keep using Godspeed to evade, jumping onto pews, onto the pulpit, onto pillars. The father fought like a maniac, its tentacles thrashing, crystal spikes stabbing everywhere, tearing the entire church apart piece by piece. Daniel kept dodging while sniping whenever he found an opening. The moment the clone skill came off cooldown, he unleashed another synchronized volley. 35%, 20%, 5%. Finally, after the third full barrage, the father's HP dropped to 5%. And at that exact moment, the beast-turned father went completely berserk. It threw back its head with a long howl, and all the crystals on its body suddenly exploded, turning into countless fragments that shot outward in every direction. Daniel's pupils shrank. This was a full map AoE. He had been prepared for this move all along. But now the crystal fragments covered the entire church. There was nowhere to dodge. At the last possible instant, he activated Godspeed. His vision blurred, and the next second, he was already standing at the iron gate on this floor, while a storm of crackling impacts rang out behind him.
He looked back.
The church was in complete ruin. Everything inside had been riddled full of holes by the crystal fragments. Inside the church, the father's HP remained frozen at 5%. It was breathing heavily, its 3 tentacles hanging limply against the floor. But its eyes were still locked onto Daniel with murderous hatred. Daniel raised his bow and aimed at the father's head. The father seemed to sense that this would be the final blow. It struggled to force itself upright, and its 3 tentacles lashed toward Daniel with the last of their strength. Fire. 11 arrows left the strings at once. Before the father's tentacles had even finished reaching forward, the first wave of arrows had already arrived. The explosions detonated in a deafening chain, followed by the second wave, then the third. Boom, 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 boom. This time the distance was much shorter. The shockwaves from the blasts directly tore the church roof apart, and broken stone came crashing down in a cascade. Daniel was blasted backward 3 meters, slamming hard into the ground, and losing another 5% HP. Then the smoke cleared. The father was still standing, but only barely. A wash-basin-sized hole had been blasted through the beast-turned father's chest. Through it, Daniel could see the shattered pulpit behind him. All 3 tentacles had been blown off at the roots, lying on the ground and still twitching weakly. The crimson glow in its eyes dimmed little by little. Daniel stared at the longbow in his hands in disbelief, his heart pounding with excitement. The beast-turned father, The monster once known as the newbie butcher had actually been solo killed by him?
Ding.
You have slain the gold grade boss beast turned father, LV45. Congratulations, you have reached level 50.
Ding.
Since you have reached the first advancement level cap of 50, you can no longer level up for now. Any overflow EXP has been stored in your EXP pool. Obtained items. Father's Cross, silver grade. Angel's Blessing, silver grade. Murky Crystal Fragment times 20. Gold coin times 100. Contribution points plus 300.
Ding.
Congratulations, you are the first player to achieve a boss first clear. A server-wide announcement will now be made. Would you like to hide your information? Daniel raised an eyebrow, then chose without the slightest hesitation.
No.
In his previous lives, he had deeply understood the saying, the tree that rises above the forest will be broken by the wind. That was why he had always believed in keeping a low profile and developing quietly.
But now, ha.
If anyone dared come looking for trouble, Daniel would only praise their courage. The next instant, a voice rang across the entirety of Stellar. Server-wide announcement. Player Faustus of Universe number 616 has become the first to slay the map gold grade boss beast turned father, earning the achievement Trailblazer. As the first player to kill a gold grade boss, the following rewards have been granted. Contribution points plus 5,000. Gold coin plus 10,000. Server unique achievement unlocked. Boss first kill. Rewarded with the unique title Trailblazer. Attribute points plus 50. This achievement has been recorded in the Chronicles of Stellar and shall be remembered for all time. World Channel. Holy shit. A gold grade boss? This is only the first day of launch. A level 45 gold grade monster, what the hell even is that? WTF? I'm only level 6. This guy has to be cheating, right? Faustus. I know him. He's the one who sold that skill book earlier. First kill reward gives 50 attribute points. Damn. That's like being 5 levels ahead of everyone else. No. Seriously. How can this game have a player this insane? Where are the GMs? Somebody come deal with this. Damn it. What kind of idiot made this game? Somebody is blatantly cheating and nobody cares. Big bro, carry me. I can warm your bed. Shut up, you zero, nobody asked Dash. Rhine Guild, main channel. At that moment, the channel was eerily quiet. Chairman Prospector stared at the announcement, tapping his fingers lightly against the tabletop with a dull tap, tap, tap. After a long pause, he finally spoke. Investigate. We already did. Vice Guild Leader Northwind replied immediately. Faustus. Class. Archer. He previously listed an A-rank movement skill book on the market. One of our people bought it. An A-rank movement skill book? Prospector arched a brow. Who has that skill book now? I do, a player named Dragonslayer said. Haven't learned it yet. I was planning to save it for one of our main assassins. Use it, Prospector said. That kid definitely has something better. Chairman, your meaning is? Someone who can kill a level 45 gold grade boss on day 1. Prospector's voice remained unreadable. Either he found a bug in the game, or he's a genuine god-tier player. No matter which it is, if we can recruit him. If we can't, then at the very least, don't offend him.
He paused.
Who contacted him earlier? I did. Guild leader Ryan Watcher's voice sounded a little weak. But he blocked me. The channel fell silent again. Forget it. Prospector waved a hand. If he doesn't want to be disturbed, just put someone on him and keep watching. We'll decide later. Prospector's gaze turned complicated. As one of the people standing at the very top of Earth society, he knew many truths that ordinary people didn't. The things tied to this game were far too enormous. Daniel looked at the wall of system notifications in front of him, his grin stretching almost to his ears. In his previous lives, he had seen server-wide announcements many times. But this one felt especially satisfying, because this was the first boss first kill announcement he had ever claimed himself. And back then, in order to compete with those powerful guilds and corporations for resources, he had often been forced to grow quietly and level in secrecy. But now things were different. While most players were still struggling below level 10, he was already level 50. Even if those people harbored ill intentions, in the face of absolute strength, all they could do was back down. As for reality, unless he chose to expose himself, there was practically no way for anyone to trace him. He opened his system panel. Trailblazer. Unique title. Effect. Damage dealt to gold grade and above bosses plus 10%. Critical rate plus 5%. Description. As the first warrior to slay a gold grade boss, your name shall be engraved in the halls of Stellar. Attribute points. 50. Then he looked at the 2 pieces of equipment the boss had dropped. Father's Cross. Accessory plus 20 intelligence, plus 50% mental resistance, plus 100% MP recovery speed. As for Angel's Blessing, it was equipment for mage and priest type classes. The bonuses were decent, but unfortunately, he had no use for it. After equipping the cross, Daniel looked in satisfaction at his now massively inflated 4 core attributes. Strength, 45. Intelligence, 65. Agility, 755.
Constitution, 45.
Even Daniel himself was stunned by the numbers before him. This stat panel was already comparable to that of an average level 70 player. As for why he had dumped all his attribute points into agility, it wasn't only because he needed it for the father fight. It also had to do with something else coming up next. And besides, even if attribute points were allocated incorrectly, once a player reached their second-class advancement, the system granted one free full stat reset. That was Stellar's one and only chance for players to fix their mistakes. Miss that opportunity, and any later stat res pack would cost a truly astronomical price. Very soon, Daniel suppressed his excitement and turned his attention back to the real matter at hand. He took a deep breath and swept his gaze over the ruined church. Behind the pulpit stood a statue. It was 3 meters tall, entirely black, and depicted an utterly twisted existence. It had countless tentacles, countless eyes, and a grotesquely distorted body. The style of the statue was rough and eerie, like some product of primitive worship. Most striking of all was the object placed at its chest. An inverted cup. A cup of dark violet black, suspended upside down in a hollow at the center of the statue's chest, surrounded by a faint black mist.
Ding.
Quest item discovered. Anti-Holy Grail of the Dark God, damaged. Daniel understood at once. This was the ultimate quest item of Adrian's hidden questline. In his previous life, even with all the resources he had accumulated and the advantage of future knowledge, he had paid an enormous price to obtain this final quest item. And yet in this life, he had done it on day one. If this had been his former self, he wouldn't have even dared dream of something like this. He carefully walked toward the statue, his eyes fixed on the cup. A thick black liquid kept seeping from the rim, flowing down the statue's body and onto the floor, where it vanished without a trace. That liquid was the source of the infection. He raised the Moon Reaper and aimed at the cup.
Whoosh.
The arrow shot out. It struck the cup with perfect accuracy, and the explosion erupted instantly. The statue shook violently. Cracks spread outward from the point of impact. The anti-Holy Grail, having lost its support, tumbled free from the statue and rolled down. At the same time, the statue itself began to collapse. Huge black stone blocks rained down from the ceiling of the mine, and the entire church shook violently. Daniel had no time to care about anything else. He hurriedly wrapped the cup in cloth and stuffed it into his inventory.
Ding.
Obtained quest item, Anti-Holy Grail of the Dark God, damaged. When he turned back, the statue had completely shattered. Countless chunks of stone crashed down with thunderous force, and clouds of dust filled the entire church. Daniel did not hesitate for even a moment. He immediately used God's speed to escape the mine. Back in Starter Village, beneath the blue locust tree, Adrian was still squatting there counting money. A flash of white light suddenly appeared in the open space ahead, and a figure materialized out of nowhere, startling several players who had been running quests nearby. Hearing the commotion, Adrian looked up and his eyes instantly lit up. "Oh, you're back. Judging by how dusty and battered you look, don't tell me you got scared out of your wits." Daniel walked over to him. "Scared? Hardly. My clothes are only a little dirty." Before Adrian could question him, Daniel directly opened his inventory and started pulling out murky crystal fragments one after another. 1 piece, 2 pieces, 20 pieces, 30 pieces. Adrian's eyes grew wider and wider. By the time Daniel finished, there were over 100 fragments piled in front of him, stacked into a small hill. "Teach this." Adrian's eyes were practically twitching. "Did you slaughter the entirety of Windmill Town, or something?" Daniel clapped the dust off his hands. "Something like that."
Ding.
You have completed the quest far beyond requirements. Reward bonus calculation in progress. Gained EXP. Plus 15,000 overflowed. Gained silver coins. Plus 200. Gained contribution points. Plus 1,000. Adrian favorability increased to trust. The way Adrian looked at Daniel changed completely. The easy mark from before had turned into someone worthy of respect. "My boy, no, my friend. That kind of efficiency. I've got nothing to say." He rubbed his hands together, grinning as if he had just found money on the street. "These are enough for 7 or 8 experiments. This time I'm definitely going to write an outstanding paper. The Main City Magic Academy will absolutely have to give me a bonus." He excitedly flipped through the fragments, then suddenly seemed to remember something and straightened up. "By the way, since you went so deep into Windmill Town, did you discover the true source of the beastification? I suspect there's something wrong deep in the mine."
Ding.
Adrian entrusts you with further investigating the true source behind Windmill Town's beastification. Accept? A smile curled at Daniel's lips. Instead of accepting the quest, he slowly pulled out a cloth bundle from his inventory. "How about you take a look at this first?" He lifted one corner of the cloth, revealing the violet-black body of a cup. Adrian's smile froze on his face. The next second, he jumped up as if he had been struck by lightning. This. This is." He reached out to grab it. Daniel pulled his hand back.
Hey.
"You want it? Trade me something for it." Adrian stomped his foot in frustration. "At least let me take a look. Let me confirm it first. That's not my problem. Show me the goods first." Daniel leaned against the tree with the smug face of a shameless profiteer. Adrian took several deep breaths, forcing himself to calm down. He stared at Daniel for a few seconds, then suddenly laughed. "You little brat, you really know how to do business." He began rummaging through his belongings. Very soon, he pulled out a set of silver glowing leather armor. Archer's Silvermoon Hunter set, silver grade. "More than enough for you." Daniel merely glanced at it. A full silver grade set had originally been part of the final quest reward anyway. Who was he trying to fool? He cut Adrian off directly. "Take a look at what this is." "Do you really think I care about silver grade gear?" Adrian looked at the glowing Moon Reaper in Daniel's hand and instantly choked on his words. He couldn't tell its exact tier, but at a minimum it had to be gold grade, and most likely black gold grade or above. Although he had no idea where Daniel had gotten it, he still gritted his teeth, stuffed the armor back, and dug around inside his robes for a long while. Finally, with obvious reluctance, he took out 2 more items. One was a bronze-grade badge, with crossed swords engraved on the front. The other was a pale golden card, covered in flowing arcane patterns. Apprentice Merit Medal. Effect: all attributes plus 20. With accumulated military merit, this medal allows you to exchange for rare mounts, skills, and equipment at the quartermaster, and also claim a daily military stipend. Description: proof of an outstanding soldier, enough to grant you excellent ayur and privileges. Single attribute replication badge, 10/10. Effect: upon use, raises one selected attribute to match your current highest attribute value for 24 hours. Remaining uses, 10. Description: a miraculous alchemical creation that allows you to reach the extreme in one field. Daniel's pupils contracted slightly. A medal granting plus 20 to all attributes was already precious enough. But the replication badge was downright monstrous. Right now, his agility was 775. If he used this badge on strength, then for the next 24 hours his strength would also become 775. That meant temporarily gaining 700 plus extra stat points out of nowhere. But he didn't rush to accept it. Instead, he carefully examined the item description. Then suddenly, he noticed a line of tiny text. This item can be traded, not bound. Daniel's heartbeat skipped for an instant. That meant he suppressed the excitement in his chest and kept his face calm. Just these 2? Are you trying to fob off a beggar? Adrian's face turned green. Do you even know how hard that medal is to get? It has to be exchanged with military merit at the quartermaster. And that replication badge, do you have any idea how valuable it is? I barely managed to get hold of that one. I was saving it for myself. Daniel thought for a moment, then reluctantly handed over the cloth bundle.
Fine. Deal.
Adrian snatched the grail at once and cradled it in both hands, examining it carefully. Even his hands were trembling. So it really is it the legendary anti-holy grail? The source of Windmill Town's beastification. If I bring this back to the academy, ha ha ha. Adrian studied every detail of the anti-holy grail with obsessive intensity, his breathing growing heavier and heavier. Daniel paid him no attention.
Ding.
Detected quest item anti-holy grail of the dark god, damaged, has been traded to the designated NPC. Million-fold boost activated. Enhancement direction, quality boost.
Ding.
Congratulations. Obtained. Anti-holy grail of the dark god, legendary grade. Inside the system inventory, the damaged anti-holy grail underwent a complete transformation. Its body now flowed with a dark golden radiance. The rim still faced downward, but no longer seeped black liquid. Instead, it emanated a strange aura in which holiness and evil intertwined. Anti-holy grail of the dark god. Effect: can be used to open a world-level event or instance. Custom permissions can define the instance name, background story, entry requirements, ticket price, monster distribution, special rules, and more. Current status: not activated. Daniel's eyes practically lit up. A world-level instance. This is huge. Adrian finally looked up at Daniel again, his expression much more sincere than before. Brother, thanks. If you come to the main city in the future, just head straight to the Military Magic Academy and find me. Whatever you need help with, just say the word.
Ding.
Adrian favorability increased to close friend. Your contribution points with the Military Magic Academy have been unlocked. Initial value, plus 500. Then Adrian no longer lingered. In the next instant, he disappeared from the spot. Adrian was gone. But Daniel didn't hurry toward the main city just yet. He still had a few things to take care of, especially the new rewards he had just obtained. After thinking for a moment, Daniel walked toward a wooden hut at the far end of the village. Sitting at the entrance was an old man with white hair and beard, holding a wooden bow in his hand, squinting lazily under the sun. Old Hunter, Red. Daniel stepped forward and struck up a conversation. Sir, I heard you've got some good stuff here? The old hunter raised his eyes to look at him, and a sharp glint flashed through those cloudy pupils. Oh, a little guy at level 50. Not bad. What do you want to buy? A shop list popped up. All kinds of ordinary arrows, low-tier traps, and several dusty beginner skill books for archers and hunters. Daniel's gaze immediately locked onto one particular skill book.
Scattershot des rangs.
Effect: fires 3 arrows at once in a fan-shaped area ahead. Each arrow deals 60% damage. Cooldown, 10 seconds. Price, 400 silver coins. Daniel's eyes lit up.
Adhérent au skill.
Even if it only fired 3 arrows, paired with the explosive effect of his arrows, it would massively improve his mob-clearing efficiency. Of course, that wasn't the real reason he had come here to buy a skill book. The true key was, this skill book was tradable. There was an archer instructor in the center of the village, sure, but the skills you learned there were not only the lowest tier ones, they were also untradeable. Silver coins minus 400. After getting what he wanted, Daniel turned and walked toward the general store at the village entrance, where old Merchant Gray was still dozing off. Boss, do you buy skill books? Gray opened his eyes. A trace of surprise appeared in his expression when he saw Daniel, clearly recognizing this particularly bizarre newbie. Of course. Daniel slapped Scattershot onto the counter. Sold. Gray took the book and handed him 40 silver coins. TSK, this is a truly rare skill book. I'm taking a loss here giving you a little extra money for it. Seeing the old man's expression of you've made a huge profit, Daniel couldn't help rolling his eyes.
Ding.
Sold item. Scattershot, D-rank, sale price. 40 silver coins. Million-fold boost activated. Obtained gold coins. 400,000. Sold item is a skill book. Player selected quality boost. Congratulations. Obtained skill book. Arrow Storm, SSS rank. A golden, radiant skill book appeared in his inventory. Arrow Storm, SSS rank. Effect. Fires a massive rain of arrows over a designated area, covering a range of 50 by 50 meters. Each arrow deals 300% damage and carries a piercing effect. The number of arrows depends on agility. Every 100 agility grants 100 additional arrows, up to a maximum of 10,000 arrows. Cooldown, 30 seconds. MP cost, 500. Daniel sucked in a breath. A 50-meter area. 1,000 arrows. Each arrow dealing 300% damage. And with piercing, this was basically carpet bombing. He learned it immediately, and soon another golden icon appeared in his skill bar. Now he had a single target burst skill enhanced by clones, an AoE battlefield clearing skill, and a movement skill for survival. At this point, he was practically all-round. But he still wasn't done. Daniel slapped the single attribute replication badge onto the counter next. This one. Name a price. Gray took it and looked it over, one eyebrow rising.
Oh.
Something that replicates an attribute. It can only be used 10 times, but the effect's not bad. I'll give you 1 silver coin. Daniel's mouth twitched. This was the item Adrian had been saving as a trump card for survival. Its value didn't even need explaining, which just went to show how viciously this old man loved to lowball. But then again, there was only one merchant in all of Starter Village. Besides, with million-fold boost, Daniel wasn't exactly short on money anymore. Sold. Old Gray shot him a surprised glance, then handed him a single silver coin.
King.
Detected sold item. Single attribute replication badge, 10 tenths. Sale price, 1 silver coin. Million-fold boost activated. Obtained gold coins, 10,000. Sold item is a special consumable. Host selected quality boost. Generating returned item. Congratulations, player has obtained. Heart of Balance, permanent. A pale golden badge appeared in his inventory, completely different from the previous one. Its entire body was crystalline, like a perfectly cut gemstone, with 7 colored radiance slowly flowing inside it. Daniel took a deep breath and opened its details. Heart of Balance, accessory. Type. Special item, consumed upon use, cannot be dropped. Effect, after use, permanently raises all 4 core attributes to match the player's current highest attribute. Description. The pinnacle masterpiece of alchemy, breaking the taboo that attributes can never truly be balanced. Only those who dare to let go can obtain true balance. Current highest attribute, agility, 775. Daniel's hand trembled slightly. All attributes raised to the highest one. That meant his current strength 45, intelligence 65, and constitution 45 would all.
He didn't hesitate.
He clicked use immediately.
Ding.
You have used Heart of Balance. Recalculating attributes. Strength, 65 to 775. Intelligence, 85 to 775. Agility, 775 to 775 unchanged. Constitution, 65 to 775. Attribute adjustment complete. A pale golden glow burst out from Daniel's body, then instantly withdrew back into him. He opened his panel and checked the detailed status. Player, Faustus. Level, 50 EXP pool overflow. Strength, 775. Intelligence, 775. Agility, 775.
Constitution, 775.
Attribute points, 0. Title, Trailblazer, unique. Equipment, Moon Reaper, legendary grade. Father's Cross, silver grade. Apprentice, merit medal. Daniel stared blankly at the panel in front of him and fell silent for a full 5 seconds. 775 points in all 4 attributes. What did that mean? It meant his HP was now 775 times 50 is equal to 38,750 HP, more than 10 times what it had been before. It meant his MP was enough to cast dozens of rounds of clones. It meant his attack power. With strength 775, and Moon Reaper granting 10 extra attack power per point of strength, that alone meant 7,750 attack power just from strength, before even counting the base attack. He could casually one-shot a normal level 50 monster with a random arrow now. And the most terrifying part was, all of his attributes were now balanced. He had no weakness. He was no longer a fragile archer. He was now a monster with huge HP, blazing speed, and massive MP reserves. A true hexagon warrior. And on top of that, this still wasn't even his limit. He hadn't forgotten that some of his attribute points had originally been spread among the other stats. Once he reached his second-class advancement and reset all his points back into agility, he clicked his tongue. At level 50, he would have the 4-dimensional stat panel of a player over level 100. Daniel clenched his fist, feeling the surge of power flowing through his body. Before, when fighting bosses, he had needed to rely on movement, kiting, and Godspeed just to survive.
Now,
He felt like he could stand there and trade blows with a boss head-on. Not that there was any need for that, but the confidence was there. All right. He closed the panel, forcing down the excitement in his chest. Then Daniel opened his inventory and looked at the complete anti-Holy Grail, anticipation welling up inside him. It was time to make something big happen. Daniel clicked on the anti-Holy Grail and selected Open World Event. Please set event parameters. Event name: Beast Tide is coming. Background story: Default: the curse of an ancient evil god has triggered a monster uprising, laying siege to the starter village. Participation range: all players of universe number 616, level 1 and above. Entry requirement: none. Ticket price can be set. Ticket price: 1 copper coin, customizable. Monster settings: auto-generated, type, quantity, level, grade, and drops cannot be modified. Daniel thought for a moment, then entered 1 copper coin as the ticket price. Warning: all ticket revenue will belong to you.
confirm?
Confirm. To be honest, the old Daniel would have spent ages calculating how to squeeze out even 1 extra gold coin. But right now, he wanted to properly experience what life as a filthy rich tycoon felt like. Opening event: sending invitations to the entire server. The next second, a blood-red server-wide announcement exploded across Stellar. Emergency server-wide announcement. Player Faustus has triggered a world-level event. Beast Tide is coming. Event description: the sleeping will of an evil god has awakened, driving countless magical beasts to lay siege to starter village number 616. All players may participate in the defense. Repelling the beast tide will grant generous rewards. Participation method: pay an entry fee of 1 copper coin to enter the event instance. Death penalty: minus 10% EXP at current level. Monster drops are automatically looted. Event start time: 30 minutes from now. Registration deadline: before the event begins. Almost the instant the announcement went out, the entire world channel exploded. What the hell? A world level event? On day 1? Seriously, I haven't even left starter village yet, and there's already an event? There wasn't even any preview. Faustus again? He triggered this too? Come on, this guy has to be a GM, right? 1 copper coin for entry? That cheap? Can some kind soul donate me 1 copper coin? WTF, I'm still out in the wilderness running back to town right now. Party up, party up. Anyone grouping? Big bro, carry me? Daniel watched the world channel scroll madly, and the corners of his mouth lifted. 30 minutes from now, his inventory would be filled with a ridiculous number of copper coins. And then million-fold boost would trigger. He opened the event management interface of the anti-Holy Grail and began adjusting the details of the instance. Instance name: Battle for the Starter Village. Background story: the anti-Holy Grail left behind by the evil god has awakened, drawing countless magical beasts into a frenzied assault on the human starter village. All players must unite and defend the final line of resistance. Death penalty: minus 10% EXP at current level. Drop rules: all monster drops are auto-looted directly into each player's inventory. Point rules: points are calculated according to the quantity and quality of monsters killed. After the event ends, extra rewards may be exchanged, automatically distributed by the system, not through Faustus. Settings complete. Soon enough, the 30 minutes passed in a flash. The plaza of Starter Village was packed with players as dense as ants at the very least, tens of thousands of them. Everyone had their heads tilted up, staring toward the distant mountains, where a gigantic blood-red portal was slowly taking shape.
Ding.
World Event Beast Tide is coming has opened. Enter? One player took the lead and rushed in. The others quickly followed. Daniel, however, did not hurry. He stood beneath the old blue locust tree at the village entrance, watching as the players swarmed into the portal. Meanwhile, the number of copper coins in his inventory was skyrocketing. 100, 1,000, 10,000. In just a few short minutes, the number of registrants broke 50,000, and it was still climbing. Total ticket revenue: 87,324 copper coins. Million-fold boost triggered. Obtained gold coins: 8,732,400,000. 8.7324 billion gold coins deposited instantly. How boringly easy. Daniel closed the system notification, took a deep breath, and stepped into the portal. His vision blurred. The next moment, he found himself standing in the plaza of Starter Village. But this was no longer the lively little village from before. The sky was a deep blood red. The surrounding houses had all their doors and windows tightly shut. And on the distant horizon, a black tide of monsters was surging forward like a living flood. Event officially begins. First wave: ordinary monster tide. Monster types: mutated wild wolves, frenzied boars, venomous spiders. Level range: 10 to 20. Quantity: 50,000. Before the players could even fully react, the monsters had already reached the village entrance. WTF? That many? You gotta be kidding me, the weakest ones are level 10? Some time had already passed since launch, so most players were now above level 10, and a very small handful had even reached level 20 and completed their first class advancement. But even so, when faced with a monster tide numbering in the tens of thousands for the first time, most of them still couldn't help but panic. Though more than panic, what filled them most was excitement. After all, they wouldn't really die. One by one, players roared excitedly and charged straight into the monster horde with their weapons raised. Go, go, go. Mages and archers AoE. Priests keep the heals up. Summoners and warriors hold the line. In an instant, total chaos erupted. Are you all cowards or what? That blood wolf was one hit from death and none of you dared finish it. You bitch. Explain to me why it's suddenly at full HP then? One player charged in enthusiastically, only to be slapped to death by that blood wolf with a single claw strike. The wolf that killed me already got trampled to death. Fuck you. Daniel stood in the middle of the plaza and did not hurry to act. He swept his eyes across the battlefield and found that most players were only a little above level 10. The vast majority were clearly fighting these level 10 plus monster tides for the first time and were getting beaten into complete disorder. Some had already started being forcibly teleported out of the instance. But Daniel also noticed that some guild players, thanks to their coordination, had already begun to stabilize their lines. Especially the larger guilds like Rhine Guild. Those players had rich gaming experience and strong fundamentals to begin with, and after just one day inside Stellar, they had already built up solid teamwork. More than 20 core members formed a battle formation, holding an area so tightly that not even water could leak through. Similar formations gradually began taking shape across the battlefield, slowly stabilizing the front. Daniel smiled faintly. Finally, he moved. He raised the Moon Reaper and aimed at the densest area of monsters. Arrow storm. Whoosh. Under the astonished gazes of all the players, the sky suddenly darkened, and a fierce wind swept through the battlefield. Huh? It can rain inside an instance. No, wait, there wasn't even a single cloud just now. That makes no sense, does it? Before anyone could react, the next instant, countless raindrop-like streaks fell from the sky, pouring into the monster tide.
Boom.
Boom, 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 boom. A continuous chain of explosions thundered across the battlefield. Flames shot into the air. Smoke and dust rolled everywhere. When the smoke finally cleared, everyone focused their eyes and saw it clearly. Within a 50-meter radius, several hundred monsters had all been blasted into pieces, leaving behind a ground full of crater-like impact pits. The entire world went silent for 1 second. Then the players lost their minds. What the hell? What was that in the sky? Arrows. You've got to be kidding me, one skill just one-shot hundreds of monsters? Could that be some kind of starter village protection mechanism? Fuck, what did I just see? Daniel ignored their cries of shock and drew his bow again. In the blink of an eye, wind and clouds gathered once more, and several more waves of arrow rain crashed down. Before the first wave of monsters had even reached the village entrance, most of them were already dead. The few survivors that slipped through were instantly mobbed and finished off by the other players, letting plenty of them level up on the spot. But after that display, everyone's attention turned toward the glowing figure standing atop the blue locust tree. WTF? A level 50 archer Faustus? What? So this is Faustus, the guy who's been making all that noise lately? Wait, what did you say, level 50? WTF? Where are the GMs? Are they blind? This guy is blatantly cheating. You've got to be kidding me. I've been grinding nonstop since going online, and I'm only level 19. How the hell is he already level 50? No, seriously, why are these mobs getting one-shot the moment they touch his hands? Are you even going to let us play? At least leave some scraps for the rest of us. Ignoring the explosive reactions from the crowd of players, Daniel simply continued clearing the monsters in front of him as if nothing had happened. With his overwhelming intervention, every monster in sight was wiped out in less than 5 minutes.
Ding.
Attention all players within the map. The second wave of Elite Grade Monster Tide is about to arrive. Monster types: Mutated Wolf King, Frenzied Boar King, Venom Spider Queen. Level range: 20 to 30 Elite Grade. Quantity: 5,000. Elite Grade monsters were far stronger than normal mobs. A level 30 Wolf King could one-shot low-level players with a single charge. But Daniel still stood at the very front, releasing volleys of arrows with an expressionless face. This time, he used his clones. 10 clones appeared at the same time. Together with his main body, 11 overlapping waves of arrow rain crashed into the monster horde simultaneously. The scene was downright apocalyptic. Explosions filled the area for 1,000 meters in every direction, and even the ground was blasted nearly 10 meters deep. Elite-grade monsters? They were still getting one shot. What does this even mean? The players participating in the event stared with wide eyes. When they saw the notice for the second wave of elite-grade monsters, they had all been worried about whether they could even survive it. But the instant the monsters spawned, before they could even see what they looked like, a storm of bombs had already flown over and erased them all. You've got to be kidding me. He's even bringing hacks into this game. Holy crap. He's doing it this openly? Rigged. This game is rigged. I can't play this at all. If the GMs still don't ban him, I'm quitting. Oh, and who exactly do you think you are? You think the GMs are begging you to stay? Are we even playing the same game? At that moment, countless players fell into a mix of shock, numbness, and anger. But the truly sharp players had already rushed forward to finish off the monsters that still had a sliver of HP left. What a joke. These were level 20 to 30 elite grade monsters. At their current levels, unless they teamed up, fighting them was practically suicide. As for resisting this elite-grade invasion, sure, they could theoretically brute force it with numbers, but if too many people died, the EXP loss would be painful. And besides, the more people there were, the less meat everyone got. Right now, the monsters had already been blown into near death. With a bit of luck, one touch would be enough to steal the kill. And that was personal EXP all to themselves. An opportunity, this huge, was something you could fight over and still fail to get. Daniel took in everyone's reactions, but he didn't stop the players who rushed in to harvest the low HP monsters. He had already eaten the meat. Naturally, he had to leave some soup for everyone else. While most players were still busy complaining, the third wave of the beast tide had already arrived in silence. Monster types: mixed wave of flying monsters plus ground monsters. Level range: 30 to 35 elite grade. Quantity: 2,000. Not to mention that they were all elite grade, and even higher level. Just the flying monsters alone were enough to leave many melee players helpless. Daniel glanced up. In the next instant, he activated Godspeed and flashed straight into the sky, continuously unleashing arrow rain in midair. His arrows blanketed the heavens, and the roar of explosions shook the clouds. The flying monsters fell from the sky like a hailstorm. When the players saw that scene, they had gone completely numb inside. What the hell? Is he even human? I'm seriously starting to suspect he's a plant from the game company. It's a new game, so having a shill isn't weird. What kind of shill pulls dozens of levels ahead of second place? The player in second place just hit level 25. This is absurd. So, we're just here to be spectators. Are you stupid? Everyone else already rushed in to last hit the low HP mobs, and only an idiot like you is still standing back here questioning things. No, I'm a priest. Right then. A cold and urgent system notification suddenly rang out. Warning! 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 The final boss of this Beast Tide event is about to arrive. All players, please prepare yourselves. Before the players could even react, crack! A gash suddenly tore open in the dark red sky. The next moment, a gigantic shadow dropped violently from the rift and smashed straight into the ground outside the village entrance, making the entire starter village tremble without end. Boom! Rumble dash. As the dust settled and everyone focused their eyes, they saw a colossal beast over 20 meters tall. Its body was covered in pitch-black scales. 3 pairs of wings spread across its back, and a spiral horn atop its head crackled with lightning. Thunderwing Dragon, LV-45, Black Gold Grade Boss. The players all sucked in a sharp breath. A Black Gold Grade Boss. The strongest monsters they had encountered so far were only silver grade monsters, and even those were beyond them. A level 45 Black Gold Grade boss, under normal circumstances, would require at least several hundred players of the same level rating together to take down. But the moment Daniel saw the massive creature, he couldn't help licking his lips. His 4 core attributes had already reached outrageous levels, pushing his combat power to an absurd height. He still hadn't tested what it felt like to go all out. In the next instant, 10 clones appeared behind him. 11 bows aimed at the Thunderwing Dragon at the same time. The Thunderwing Dragon seemed to sense that it had been locked on by Daniel's skill, and it let out a furious roar toward the sky. With a single flap of its wings, endless bolts of lightning rained down from above. Boom boom boom. Countless players were caught in the crossfire and blasted into ashes, while still wearing blank expressions. Daniel used Godspeed in rapid succession, his figure flickering back and forth through the storm of lightning. At the same time, 11 volleys of arrow rain poured down. Boom. Boom boom boom. The explosions instantly swallowed the Thunderwing Dragon. Although it dodged nearly half of the attacks in the first moment, its HP still dropped by 30% in an instant. Oh, pretty tough, huh? The Thunderwing Dragon was enraged. It spat out a massive pillar of lightning that swept across the battlefield. Daniel dodged immediately, emerging without a scratch. Seeing this, the Thunderwing Dragon tore through the clouds high above, preparing to dive straight down in an attack. But at the very same moment, Daniel activated Godspeed as well, instantly chasing up into the sky and confronting the Thunderwing Dragon face to face. The Thunderwing Dragon, seeing this tiny human daring to oppose it head-on, went completely berserk. Lightning surged across its entire body, while a black and blue sphere of energy rapidly gathered in its maw. Daniel's pupils contracted. Instantly, he activated Godspeed at maximum range and flashed 1,000 meters away. Boom! A black and blue beam slammed into the ground. The power of the Thunderwing Dragon's breath instantly flattened everything within several hundred meters. Countless players who failed to dodge in time were directly vaporized. But Daniel remained completely unharmed. As soon as the explosion ended, he flashed back once more. This time, he had no intention of holding back. He drew his bow and fired one final arrow at the enraged Thunderwing Dragon. The arrow pierced straight through the Thunderwing Dragon's skull, and the explosion instantly wiped out its remaining 70% HP. Ding! You have killed Thunderwing Dragon, LV-45, Black Gold Grade Boss. Obtained items: Thunderwing Dragon Wings, Platinum Grade. Thunder Dragon Core ×1, Black Gold Grade. Death Curse Potion ×10, 500 gold coins. The giant corpse fell from the sky and crashed heavily into the ground, smashing out a massive crater. The entire instance fell deathly silent. All the players raised their heads and stared at the figure in the sky holding a silver bow. Only after a long while did someone on the World Channel tremblingly type out a single line. I was wrong. He's not a gym, he's a god.
Ding.
The boss has been slain. World level event ended early. Calculating points. System notifications rang out beside the ears of countless players. But by then, most of them were already too stunned to react. Daniel landed at the village entrance and looked at the battlefield, now left in complete ruin. A smile curled at the corners of his lips. After this, the entire Stellar would probably remember the name Faustus. Server announcement. The Beast Tide is Coming event has ended. Calculating player points. Contribution rankings. Number 1, Faustus. Kills. 38,742, including boss times 1, elite grade times 6, 156, points, 9,999,999. Number 2, Rhine, Dragon Slayer, kills, 156 points, 12,450. Number 3, Blade of Dusk, kills, 132 points, 10,870.
Número 10.
The world channel completely exploded. Am I blind? How many 9s are there behind first place? What the hell does this mean? Faustus killed over 30,000 monsters by himself. Stop joking. There were that many players registered, and their combined kills still don't add up to a fraction of his. So, this is what a real top-tier player looks like? I need to verify my account. My mom asked me why I'm kneeling while gaming. The second-place player only killed 156? No, seriously, what exactly happened inside that event world? Can someone explain? Transfer me $50 and I'll give you first-hand intel from the scene. Guaranteed explosive. I still think this game has hacks. Faustus be like, turns out I worried for nothing. So, you were all just competing for second place. Please, have some humanity. Daniel stood atop the ruins of Starter Village, surrounded by the gradually fading light curtain of the instance. Players were being teleported out one after another, each of them dusty and bedraggled, yet excitement still shone across their faces. Even though most of them had barely managed to touch a monster, the event rewards were genuinely generous. Anyone who had provided real assistance would receive, at minimum, a bronze-grade piece of equipment and an experience bonus. Daniel also opened his own event reward panel. Event ranking, number 1. Base rewards, gold coin times 5,000, contribution points times 2,000, EXP pool plus 5 million. Rewards, Death Curse potion times 10, black gold grade treasure chest times 1. Congratulations! You received an SSS rating. Additional rewards, Blessed Grail, platinum grade, Demon Mask, platinum grade. Daniel's eyes lit up instantly. Every single one of them was good stuff. He first checked the reward for killing the boss. Wing of Thunder, platinum grade. Agility, plus 20. Strength, plus 20. Effect 1. Wings of Lightning. Grants the ability to fly after activation. Flight speed plus 300% for 30 minutes. Cooldown, 1 hour. Effect 2. Lightning Radiance Protection. Effect 3. Lightning Affinity. Equipment requirement. Constitution above 100. Description. An item forged with a Thunderwing Dragon's wings as its core, preserving part of the lightning power it wielded in life. Daniel's eyes brightened. A flying item. In the world of Stellar, being able to fly and being unable to fly were practically two different games. Many terrains could only be reached through flight, and many bosses only revealed their weak points while airborne. And a 300% flight speed bonus meant crossing huge stretches of land in a very short amount of time. This was an incredibly practical piece of equipment. Still, Daniel already had God's speed, so the item itself wasn't particularly attractive to him. The only thing he currently lacked was the ability to fly. He then looked at the second item. Thunderwing Dragon Core, black gold grade. Type. Forging/alchemy material. Effect. A core containing all the essence of the Thunderwing Dragon. Can be used for forging, alchemy, enchanting, pet feeding, and more. Description. The Thunderwing Dragon's entire strength is condensed within it. Daniel stared at the purple crystal core, streaked with flickering lightning, and fell into thought. A black gold grade material. It was obviously an extremely rare item. Though it couldn't be used directly, whether for forging weapons or alchemy, it could definitely produce top-tier results. On top of that, he had killed more than 30,000 monsters during the event, and every dropped piece of equipment had gone straight into his inventory. The overwhelming majority were bronze-grade and iron-grade items, with even a small number of silver-grade pieces mixed in. Without much hesitation, Daniel directly listed all of them on the trading market, including Wing of Thunder and Thunderwing Dragon Core. Most importantly, he listed everything at dirt-cheap prices. It didn't take long before someone on the trading market discovered a black gold grade material, Thunderwing Dragon Core, priced at only 500 gold coins. As for the other equipment, Daniel sold them all off at prices far below market value. And just like that, World Channel number 616 erupted once more. A black gold grade Thunderwing Dragon Core for only 500 gold coins? Am I hallucinating from farming too hard? A platinum grade Wing of Thunder for 100 gold coins? Is this a joke? Wait, this isn't a hallucination, look. These low-priced items are all being sold by Faustus. Holy shit, it really is. All items go on sale in 3 hours, all hail Faustus. My god, bronze grade equipment is only 10 copper coins, and even iron grade only costs 100 copper coins. Is he giving out fully to the whole server? Damn, that's a black gold grade material. There's no way he doesn't know how valuable it is. Even if he listed it for tens of thousands of gold coins, people would still buy it. No, seriously, he's dumping all this gear at rock bottom prices. What's the point? Watching the world channel instantly fill with 999 plus messages, Daniel curled his lips into a faint smile. Soon, the entire 616th game world would be facing an epic-grade war and might even have to confront powerful enemies from other world lines. He didn't mind giving the overall player base a moderate boost in strength. As for selling at a loss, the buyers might profit, but Daniel, as the seller, would never lose. The reason he set the sale to begin after 3 hours was also to give more people time to prepare. After finishing with the equipment, he turned his attention to the Death Curse potions in his bag. Death Curse potion, consumable/special item. Effect: after use, the next time you kill another player, the target is guaranteed to drop 1 piece of currently equipped gear, and their level drops by 5. However, if you are killed before that happens, your own level drops by 10. Description: a curse that wagers everything, either you die or I do. Daniel's mouth twitched. This thing was a little brutal. Still, it would be perfect for dealing with enemies. Then he looked at the black gold grade treasure chest.
Ding.
Congratulations. You obtained Hand of Shadow, black gold grade. Hand of Shadow, black gold grade. Type: gloves bound. Agility, plus 120. Effect: all elemental damage plus 25%. Ignores 10% of the target's elemental resistance. Additional effect: attack speed plus 15%. Class restriction: Archer. Level requirement: 45. Seeing that it was bound, Daniel immediately equipped it. His current equipment loadout was now Moon Reaper, Holy Cross, Hand of Shadow, and Merit Medal. Then his gaze fell upon the final 2 Platinum Grade rewards. Blessed Grail, Platinum Grade. Saint's Blessing. While in combat, restores 1% MP per second. Super Growth. Restores 1% MP for every target killed. Description: a grail blessed by the gods, possessing an extremely rare effect. Demon Mask, Platinum Grade. Poison Fiend. Immune to poison, but carries a random negative status effect. Undying One. When taking damage, has a chance to randomly negate 1 instance of damage. Description: a demon's mask, with both benefits and drawbacks. Looking at the 2 pieces of equipment, Daniel nodded. Though both items had fairly decent effects, what he truly looked forward to was what they would become after being enhanced a millionfold. Without the slightest hesitation, he immediately put both pieces of equipment up for auction on the trading market. Their stats were strong, and they were perfect for draining gold out of those wealthy consortiums through an auction round. Very soon, another frenzy swept through the world channel.
Whoa.
Unbelievable. Faustus is actually auctioning off the Blessed Grail? Such a powerful piece of gear. And that demon mask is no joke either. Immunity to poison status? TSK, an item like that would still be god tier, even in the late game. Enough talking. First bid, first benefit. Our Stormbound Guild is taking that demon mask. The rest of you should know your place and give up. A real-world guild. The game had not yet unlocked guild creation. What a big mouth. If you've got the money, buy it. If you don't, stop barking. Froststar Guild is determined to win it. Humph. The auction started. Let's see whose wallet talks louder. The trading market's auction only had 1 requirement:
Cash.
As a result, major real-world financial groups and gaming guilds all started frantically buying up gold coins. For a time, they forcibly pushed the exchange rate between gold coins and dollars all the way to 1:3. And even that rate was still climbing. 50,000 gold coins. Humph, Stormbound Guild. You really are poor as dirt. Rhine Guild bids 80,000 gold coins.
What?
This is insane. All that for just 1 platinum grade item. You don't know shit. Setting aside the fact that it's being auctioned on behalf of Faustus, the item itself is already worth that much. As one large guild after another entered the fray, the auction became a spectacle that left countless players utterly dumbfounded. Those 2 platinum grade items were ultimately sold for the astronomical price of 400,000 gold coins. At the same time, Daniel also received the system notification.
Ding.
Detected that the host sold Blessed Grail and Demon Mask, triggering millionfold boost.
Ding.
Congratulations. You obtained 400 million gold coins. Congratulations. You obtained Infinite Grail, Supreme Grade, Demon's Whisper, Supreme Grade. Daniel's breathing grew rapid. Supreme Grade equipment. Even he had only ever seen items of that level in the hands of gods. He hurriedly opened his inventory to inspect them. Infinite Grail, Supreme Grade/Special Equipment. Effect 1, Eternal Blessing. While in combat, restores 1% HP and 1% MP per second. Effect 2, Slaughter Growth. For every target killed, max HP plus 1, max MP plus 1, recovery speed plus 1%. Description: a legendary relic of the god of war, one that nourishes itself through slaughter. As long as war endures, it will never cease. Demon's Whisper, Supreme Grade/Special Mask. Effect 1, Demonic Contract. Immune to all negative status effects, poison, curses, stun, fear, etc., but cannot receive any positive buffs, including buffs from teammates. Effect 2, Demonic Protection. When receiving fatal damage, negate that damage and lock HP at 1%. 24-hour cooldown. Description: a mask traded with demons, exchanging light for absolute freedom. Infinite Grail, restoring 1% HP and MP every second, even while in combat. That meant as long as he wasn't one shot, he could fight while continuously regenerating both HP and MP. Combined with Slaughter Growth, the more he killed, the faster he recovered, the longer he fought, the stronger he became. And Demon's Whisper granted immunity to all negative status effects. That meant stuns, freezes, fear, and similar effects would all be useless against him in the future. Although the price was that he could no longer benefit from buffs, he didn't rely much on buffs anyway. With a full set of god-tier gear, why would he care about a few extra buffs? And the once-per-day death immunity essentially meant he had an extra life. An absolute god-tier ability. Daniel was overjoyed. Without hesitation, he equipped both items. The Grail turned into a stream of light and merged into his chest, while the mask transformed into a semi-transparent black face covering that settled over his face. In an instant, he felt two completely different powers surging through his body. One was an endless flow of vitality. The other was an icy, absolute form of protection. Daniel nodded in satisfaction. Now, all four of his core attributes had reached 755, and with all this equipment on top of that, his combat power had multiplied many times over. Just as he was thinking that, a sudden commotion broke out around him. Faustus is over there. Holy shit, it's really him.
大神,
Can I get a photo with you? Faustus, join my guild. I'll pay you $1 million a year. Get lost.
who are you looking down on?
Faustus, our arcane guild sincerely invites you to join. Name your price. The crowd surged toward him like a tidal wave, and Daniel frowned. He had no interest in being treated like some kind of zoo exhibit. With a single thought, God's speed activated. His figure vanished from the spot instantly, leaving behind only a mass of fanatical, clueless players still pushing deeper into the crowd. In the very next second, Daniel was already standing at the entrance to the village chief's wooden hut in Starter Village. The old village chief had been sipping tea inside, but the moment he saw someone appear out of thin air, he was so startled that he dropped his teacup. Why you are? Hero, sir? Daniel nodded. Village chief. I want to go to the main city. The old chief focused his gaze and, upon seeing the name Faustus, hurriedly rose to his feet. After all, Daniel's contribution points were now astonishingly high, and with that merit medal on him, he was more than enough of a big shot in the eyes of the NPCs. So, it is Sir Faustus, the brave warrior. I never expected you to reach level 50 so quickly. It is indeed time for you to head to the main city. I shall prepare a letter of recommendation for you at once. With trembling hands, he took a sealed letter out of the cabinet. Obtained. Village chief's letter of recommendation, required to travel to the main city. Thank you. Daniel took the letter. The old chief beamed, then suddenly said, allow me to personally activate the teleportation array and send you to the main city. Daniel thought for a moment, then nodded. Then I'll trouble you. At this moment, more than 1,000 people had already gathered in the village square, most of them players who had just come out of the instance. They had originally been chatting excitedly and boasting to one another, but the instant they spotted Daniel, the entire place erupted. Faustus. Look, that's Faustus. Holy shit, a level 50 archer. There's no way this isn't hacks, right? Dawson, look over here. I'm cute and delicate dash. Under the respectful escort of the village chief, Daniel passed through the crowd expressionlessly and headed toward the teleportation array. A few people tried to rush forward, only to be stopped by a squad of NPC guards that suddenly appeared. Leaning on his cane, the old village chief stood before the guard squad and shouted loudly, please make way, everyone. Sir Faustus is the first brave warrior from our starter village to head to the main city. Show proper respect. With the guard squad forcefully keeping order, the players could only watch helplessly as Daniel walked up to the teleportation array. Daniel glanced back once. In the eyes of those players were admiration, envy, jealousy, and fanatical fervor. A faint smile tugged at the corner of his lips. Then, he stepped into the teleportation array. A flash of white light later, he vanished before everyone's eyes. World Channel. He's gone. He's seriously so handsome. The village chief and guard squad personally cleared the path for him. I want to act that cool too. Yeah, did you notice the village chief's attitude? WTF, could he be the chief's illegitimate son, or something? Today's funniest topic, a player is an NPC's biological son. When will I ever get to the main city? Stop dreaming. He's level 50. What level are you? I'm level 8. Then shut up. Before the players could even calm down, another round of system notifications rang out. System announcement. Congratulations to player Faustus for becoming the first player to enter the main city, Luminera. Reward, contribution points plus 500, companion egg, black gold grade, ×1. As the first player to unlock the main city, your name will be engraved upon Luminera's gate monument. On the streets of Luminera, Daniel had just stepped out of the teleportation array when he heard the system notification. The surrounding NPC guards all saluted him in unison. He swept his gaze across the grand yet familiar city before him. Broad streets, spires soaring into the clouds, merchants and NPCs moving to and fro. Compared to the desolate starter village, this was the true great world. He first opened his inventory to inspect the companion egg. Even in his previous lives, no matter how quickly he leveled up, he could never surpass the elite players of the major guilds. As for this companion egg, he had only ever heard rumors of it. It wasn't that his foresight had failed him. It was simply because those major guilds had always trained their people without scruples. A group of guild members would wear monsters down to low HP, then hand them over to a core member for the finishing blow. The moment one boss was finished, they would immediately form the next team. Under those circumstances, even if Daniel had clones of himself, there was no way he could level faster than them. Unhatched companion egg, black gold grade. Type: random type pet. Description: must be hatched before its pet type is revealed. As Daniel was studying it, the world channel exploded yet again. Global timeline channel. The main city. Someone entered the main city. Faustus again. Does this guy ever stop? A companion egg? A black gold grade one. I don't even have a pet yet. Dashin, are you selling it? I'll offer 1,000 gold coins. 1,000 gold coins, and you want a black gold grade pet? I'll offer 5,000. Stop making jokes. I'll offer 100,000 gold coins. Looking at the 99 plus private messages flooding in all at once, all of them asking to buy the companion egg, Daniel was about to ignore them all when one message suddenly caught his attention. Crimson Soul, private message Sir Faustus, hello. I am the guild leader of Violet Guild. May I ask whether your companion egg is for sale? I can offer 10,000 gold coins. If that isn't enough, we can still negotiate. Daniel raised an eyebrow. Violet Guild? Memories from his previous lives surfaced in his mind. The Violet Consortium family, one of the top real-world capital powers. Yet in the early stages of this game, they had always kept a low profile. Their guild leader, Crimson Soul, had likewise seemed ordinary at the start, but later became one of the 10 top powerhouses in the game. And right now, Violet Guild was still just a little-known small guild. The Violet Consortium was a very traditional industrial financial family. They placed only moderate importance on virtual industries. So at the moment the servers had just opened, they had not taken this game particularly seriously. As a result, Violet Guild had remained obscure for quite a while. Meanwhile, private messages from other guilds were also flooding in like mad. Rhine Watcher, Sir Faustus, we may have neglected you before, but Rhine Guild is willing to pay 1 million gold coins for your companion egg. Eternal Hawk Guild, under the Morgan Consortium, bids 2 million gold coins. We hope you'll consider it. Ragnarok, 800,000. We can also trade in real life. In reality, we can offer $2 million. Daniel laughed the moment he saw these messages. 1 million gold coins at the current exchange rate, that was equivalent to $2 million. But to a consortium like Morgan, that was little more than pocket change. Among all those messages, one in particular amused him so much it nearly made him laugh out loud. Stormbound Guild. If you know what's good for you, you'd better obediently hand over that companion egg. Stormbound Guild may then consider granting you a basic membership slot. Reading that message, Daniel let out a snort of laughter. These people's style of doing things was as absurd as ever. Ignoring all the chaotic messages, Daniel replied only to Crimson Soul.
Deal.
Crimson Soul, who was still in Starter Village killing wild boars, froze the moment she saw the notification. She checked it again and again, just to make sure she hadn't misread it. But when she looked at the other party's basic info and saw that level 50 displayed there, she was completely stunned. She had never expected him to actually reply to her. Tentatively, she sent back a message. Sir, did you send that to the wrong person?
No. I meant you.
After receiving Daniel's reply, Crimson Soul's eyes widened instantly. Still confused, she nonetheless mobilized her resources as quickly as possible and gathered 10,000 gold coins at once. Then she immediately initiated the trade, afraid Daniel might change his mind.
Ding.
Player Crimson Soul has sent you a trade request. Daniel raised an eyebrow, somewhat surprised that she had gathered the money so quickly. But when he saw Crimson Soul's level at this point in time, he almost burst out laughing. One of humanity's future top 10 powerhouses was currently only level 5. Crimson Soul sent another message. Sir Faustus, thank you for being willing to sell it. Trade request. Crimson Soul pays 10,000 gold coins in exchange for unhatched companion egg, black gold grade. Daniel tapped accept. Trade completed.
Ding.
Detected sold item. Unhatched companion egg, black gold grade, sold for 10,000 gold coins. Millionfold boost triggered. Obtained gold coins. 10 billion. Sold item is of the companion egg category. Quality boost triggered. Congratulations. You obtained Ancient Dragon Egg, legendary grade. Thump, thump, thump. Daniel's heart pounded wildly. A legendary grade companion egg. He opened his inventory. A gigantic egg radiating a dark golden glow lay quietly inside one of the slots, its shell covered in rocky textures, with an unmistakable draconic aura faintly seeping out. Ancient Dragon Egg, legendary grade. Species: Earthmount Dragon. Ancient Dragon. Description: a descendant of the ancient dragon race, possessing the power to control earth and stone. After hatching, it will bind to your soul and never betray you. Without hesitation, Daniel bit his finger and let a drop of blood fall onto the egg. The blood was instantly absorbed, and cracks began to spread across the shell. Crack, crack dash. The fissures grew larger and larger. Then, a stony claw emerged from inside the egg, followed by the entire head. It was a somewhat majestic dragon's head, its entire body seemingly formed of rock, with 2 brilliant yellow crystals for eyes. Congratulations. You have hatched a pet. Earthmount Dragon. Ancient Dragon LV1. Earthmount Dragon. Legendary grade. Base attributes: Strength 500, Constitution 500, Agility 100, Intelligence 100, increase with level. Skill 1, Crystal Cluster Dragon Breath. Attack plus 10,000%. Summons a blue crystal forest erupting from the ground, dealing massive piercing damage. Skill 2, Body of Stone. Immune to 50% of physical damage. HP recovery speed plus 200%. Skill 3, Power of the Earth. Can manipulate stone for attack or defense. Power scales with level. Skill 4, Undying and Unextinguished. As long as it remains in contact with the earth, it can consume MP to reconstruct its body and will never truly die. Daniel looked at the little stone dragon and then at its ridiculously powerful skills, nearly laughing out loud with excitement. Especially the last skill, Immortal. This meant that as long as the dragon touched the ground, it could never die. The little stone dragon nuzzled his hand, making a friendly cooing sound. Then, it turned around and began chomping on its dragon egg, flapping its little wings up and down, clearly overjoyed. Meanwhile, in Starter Village, Crimson Soul held the black gold grade companion egg in her hands, looking utterly stunned. Did I really buy it? Is this a dream? But why me? Crimson Soul's expression was complicated. She couldn't understand why Daniel would sell her this companion egg. After all, she knew her own worth, and this companion egg was definitely worth more than 10,000 gold coins. There was no doubt that someone else would offer a higher price. She had even seen on the World Channel that a large guild was offering 1,000,000 gold coins to buy it. So why her? After hesitating, she couldn't help but send a message. Lord Faustus, why did you sell it to me? I heard Rhine Guild offered 1,000,000 gold coins, but I only offered 10,000. She waited for quite a while before a message finally popped up. It's nothing, just thought your name sounded nice.
Huh.
Crimson Soul froze. This reason was way too casual, wasn't it? For Daniel, since the companion egg wasn't bound to him, it was always going to be sold. Who he sold it to wasn't particularly important. He simply chose someone trustworthy. Crimson Soul would eventually become one of the top human fighters, always at the front lines against the evil gods. Helping her and even Daniel selling those items to players at a cheap price was, in a way, helping humanity rise. Crimson Soul wasn't a pretentious person. Since she couldn't figure it out, she didn't waste time thinking more about it. She looked at the companion egg in her hand, excitement flashing in her eyes. No matter what, I owe you one. If you ever need anything, feel free to ask me. She sent a friend request. Daniel accepted. Then, his profile picture completely grayed out. Crimson Soul stood there, softly muttering to herself. Faustus, huh? This game god, interesting. Leaving the East Gate, Daniel headed straight for the Luminera Trading Company. The Luminera Trading Company was the largest free trading market in Luminera, offering a wide variety of goods. As soon as he entered, he casually walked up to one of the shops, and on the shelves, he immediately spotted what he was looking for. Money bag exchange. He walked over and opened the product details. Money bag, special item. Price, 10 coins. Effect, stores gold coins in the bag, which will not drop upon death. Description, hide your coins so they can't be stolen. Daniel's eyes lit up. He remembered from his previous life that this was an item unlocked only after the main city opened, designed to reduce losses upon death. In the game, players would drop all their gold coins upon death, but the coins in the money bag wouldn't drop. Moreover, the money bag was an equipment item. What did this mean? It meant that it could be traded. This meant he could store gold coins in the money bag and then sell the money bag. This way, the gold coins would become a tradable item, allowing both the buyer and seller to bypass some of the system's restrictions. More importantly, Daniel suddenly had a brilliant idea. He could sell the money bags to players, triggering the millionfold boost. Then, the game's gold coins would multiply. He took a deep breath and immediately bought 100 money bags.
Ding.
You've reached today's purchase limit for money bags. Then, he anonymously listed one item in the player marketplace, taking a let's try it approach. Item, money bag, contains 10,000 gold coins. Price, 1 copper coin. Purchase method, seller must agree. Seller's note, cash transaction, $5 equals 1 gold coin. Interested parties can add the bank account. XXXXXXXX. Pay first, then ship. He listed the money bag and began to wait. Soon, someone on the World Channel noticed the bizarre listing. Holy shit. Look at the marketplace. Someone is selling a money bag containing 10,000 gold coins for 1 copper coin, but it's a cash transaction. $5 per gold coin? The black market price is only $3.5, right? But the money bag is a good item. It prevents gold coins from dropping upon death. Crap, if everyone starts selling these money bags, where will we get old items to drop gold coins? This person must be crazy. Only a fool would buy. Daniel knew someone would buy it. Since the game had just opened, gold coins were extremely scarce. Those big guilds, desperate to secure resources, were willing to pay high prices to buy gold coins. Although 5-to-1 was expensive, to them it was pocket change. Sure enough, within 10 minutes, he received a private message. Anonymous player, private message, I'll take the 10,000 gold coins. $50,000 have been transferred to your account. Please check. Daniel opened his phone. The game pod had real-world communication functions, and sure enough, there was a bank text message. Your account ending in XXXX has received a transfer of $50,000. He immediately moved the funds through a dozen accounts to ensure it couldn't be traced back. Once the money was secure, he returned to the marketplace, found the buyer, and clicked agree to sell.
Ding.
Item sold. Money bag contains 10,000 gold coins. Price: 1 copper coin. Million-fold boost triggered. Received 1 gold coin. Detected that the item has no quality attributes. Automatic quantity increase. Received 10 billion gold coins. Detected that the transaction involves real currency, triggering real-world amplification. Received $50 billion. The next second, his phone vibrated wildly. Your account ending in XXXX has received $50 billion. A series of transaction notifications flooded in, and his balance instantly reached a jaw-dropping number. $50 billion. Daniel's hand holding the phone trembled slightly. He knew the system was insane, but he didn't expect it to be this insane. It even amplified real-world currency. He took several deep breaths to quickly calm himself down. No matter how much money he had, it was just a tool. The true goal was that final, apocalyptic disaster. After confirming his suspicions, Daniel quickly returned to the game. He didn't need the money. Getting massive wealth so quickly was too risky for the shadow account. He decided to slowly unload the goods in batches. But now, he had more important things to do. He headed straight for the guild registration NPC at the main city guild management hall. "Hello, I would like to register a guild." The NPC nodded politely. "Please provide your ID and 500,000 gold coins as registration fees." Daniel pulled out the apprentice merit medal. This item gave him certain privileges with official organizations. When the NPC saw the medal, their attitude immediately became more respectful. "Ah, a meritorious person. You have priority handling rights. To register a guild, you need 500,000 gold coins and at least 3 members. Do you have members?" Daniel shook his head. "Just me for now." "Just one person? That requires special permission." The NPC thought for a moment and continued. "However, with your merit medal, we can make an exception. Are you sure you want to register the guild?" "Confirmed."
Ding.
"You are registering a guild. Please enter the guild name." Daniel thought for a moment and entered a word. "Doom."
Ding.
"The guild name Doom is available. Would you like to confirm?"
Confirm.
Guild registration successful. 500,000 gold coins deducted. Congratulations on successfully founding Doom Guild.
Ding. Doom Guild has been established.
You may recruit members for business, mercenary, employment, and other activities. The guild has independent assets. Daniel looked at the system notification and couldn't help but smile. Guilds in the stellar world could operate just like real-world companies, with their own independent accounts and assets. Guilds, much like independent corporations in the real world, were individual entities. As the guild leader, Daniel could directly inject funds into the guild, completing the initial funding, or he could sell things he acquired to the guild. If he wanted to withdraw assets from the guild, he only needed to pay a very low fee, similar to personal income tax in the real world. Simply put, he was the only shareholder of the guild, with unlimited funding, internal transactions, and unrestricted rights to withdraw dividends. This setup would allow him to trigger million-fold boost while keeping the resources within his own faction, preventing them from leaking. For example, if he acquired a black gold-grade weapon, he could first sell it to the guild to trigger million-fold boost and receive the weapon back, while the original black gold-grade weapon would belong to the guild. The guild could then use it to arm its members or sell it to designated players. This was simply the perfect resource loop. After all, the world was full of all sorts of creatures, and there were those among other races willing to fall into the clutches of evil gods. Similarly, humanity wouldn't lack such individuals. Though Daniel needed to strengthen humanity's overall power, it was also necessary to remove the traitors within the human faction. Fortunately, over the course of 4 lifetimes, he had recorded the information of the traitor guilds and human powerhouses. Once he had the time, they would be the first targets he dealt with. Just then, a system notification spammed the world channel.
Ding.
Server-wide announcement. Player Faustus has established the Doom Guild. As the first guild ever created, Doom Guild will go down in stellar history. As the first player to create a guild, the following exclusive rewards have been granted. 1 guild name, guild level automatically upgraded to LV.3, member limit increased by 400, guild warehouse expanded to 10,000 slots. 2 gift of prosperity. All guild members receive plus 5% experience gain and plus 5% drop rate when in a group. 3 growth pact. Guild shop unlocked early. Members can exchange contributions for experience potions, enhancement stones, rare materials, refreshed weekly. 4 flag of summoning. Receive the unique item, Doom Flag. When used, all members' attack power is increased by 15% for 2 hours, with a 7-day cooldown. 5 Heart of the Territory. Guild base automatically unlocks LV.2, with training dummies included. Members can practice skills here, increasing proficiency speed by plus 10%. The world channel exploded. WTF? Experience and gold coin bonuses? This is insane. Does Doom Guild recruit? I'm a level 20 warrior. I can fight and tank. Faustus, look at me. I'll bring my own supplies. This reward is better than working a job. I want to join. Don't run ahead. Let's team up and apply together. Daniel watched the system spam with application messages, a smile playing on his lips. There was no rush, he had many things to handle first, and he could recruit slowly once he got everything in order. He opened the guild panel. Doom Guild, LV.3. Leader, Faustus. Members. 1/10,000. Assets. Gold coins. Guild warehouse. Empty. Guild skills. None. Daniel transferred 1 billion gold coins into the guild as initial funding. Then he began to think about the next steps. Now that he had money, top-tier equipment, a legendary grade pet, and his own guild, the next move was to expand and seize the initiative. He was going to break the monopoly that the big guilds had on resources this time around. Daniel turned and headed towards the east district of the main city. There was a nondescript building there, with a brass plaque hanging at the door. Engineer Guild. He pushed the door open and entered, finding the place eerily quiet with only a few NPCs dozing off. He walked up to the counter and tapped the table. "Hello, I'd like to buy an engineer scroll." The old man behind the counter lazily looked up at him and said, "E-grade engineer scroll for 100 silver coins, F-grade for 10 silver coins." "I want to buy an A-grade scroll. Here's 10,000 gold coins." At the old man's surprised gaze, Daniel pulled out a money bag. A-grade. The old man's laziness instantly vanished. You see, the engineer subclass was not popular in the early game, and few people were willing to spend 10,000 gold coins on a profession scroll. He had assumed Daniel was just a newbie from Starter Village, but the man casually pulled out 10,000 gold coins. The A-grade engineer scroll was the highest level scroll available for sale. Anything higher required passing stringent exams and completing tasks to level up. Well, honored guest. Here is the item you requested. Please take it.
Ding.
You have obtained Engineer Scroll, A-grade. Daniel didn't use the scroll immediately. Instead, he opened the guild panel and found the guild trade option. You are trading items with Doom Guild. Engineer Scroll, A-grade.
Ding.
Trade successful. Detected that you are selling an item to your own guild. Triggering trade determination.
Ding.
Sold item. Engineer Scroll, A-grade. Price 1 copper coin, triggering million-fold boost. The item sold is a subclass level scroll. Player chooses quality boost. Congratulations, player. You have obtained Engineer Scroll, Legendary Grade. Daniel took a deep breath. Legendary Grade. The subclass levels in Stellar World range from F, E, D, C, B, A, S, SS, SSS, Legendary Grade, to Supreme Grade. Legendary Grade engineers were rare, and SSS Grade was already a rare breed. He had heard that only a few players had reached Legendary Grade in previous lives. Without hesitation, he used the scroll.
Ding.
You have changed your class to Legendary Grade Engineer.
Ding.
Legendary Grade class features unlocked. Building modification permission. You may alter and change existing buildings in the game world, including but not limited to Starter Village, Main City, fortresses, and other areas. Terrain editing permission. You may make limited edits to the terrain in the game world, using resources. Portal network construction. You may build and connect portals to create a private teleportation network. Building upgrade and enhancement. You may upgrade existing buildings to improve their functions and attributes. Daniel stared at the string of descriptions and couldn't help but smile. Modify main city buildings, edit terrain, build a teleportation network. It seemed his guess had been correct. These permissions gave him a huge advantage in making continuous profits. Without further hesitation, he turned around and walked out. His next target, the main city portal. The portal in Luminera was located in the central square of the city, the only passage between major cities and Starter Village. At that moment, only a few NPCs were coming and going near the portal. Daniel quickly spotted a figure standing next to the portal. In front of Daniel stood a plump middle-aged man. He was wearing greasy work clothes and holding a wrench, leaning against a pillar while dozing off. Main City Portal Administrator, Harold, LV-220. Daniel approached, but the fat man didn't even lift his eyelids, mumbling, 1 silver coin per teleportation. Daniel didn't move. I'm not here to teleport. Only then did Harold open his eyes, glancing at him impatiently. A level 50 kid? What are you here for, if you're not teleporting? Causing trouble? I heard the portal has been experiencing aging and malfunctions. I'd like to try repairing it. Harold froze for a moment, then burst into loud laughter. Haha, you, a level 50 kid trying to rebuild a portal? Do you even know who built this portal? This was built by me. I'm an SSS level engineer. I couldn't even find the issue. Who do you think you are? Ignoring his mockery, Daniel walked straight up to the portal and placed his hand on its frame. Harold watched his movements, his expression turning to one of anger and disdain. This was his life's work. If this kid actually managed to fix it, he would drink 3 barrels of rum. Shit, stop. As Daniel suddenly stepped back and drew his longbow, Harold felt something was wrong. He instantly charged, unleashing the full force of his level 220 warrior class, the air around him seemingly freezing. His right hand shot out to grab Daniel by the neck. If he caught him, this level 50 archer would probably be sent back to the city to respawn. But just as his fingers were about to make contact with Daniel's neck, Daniel disappeared. He reappeared on the other side of the portal, raised his hand, and fired an arrow at the portal. Harold's claw grabbed nothing, and he froze for half a second. Half a second was enough for him to launch a second attack. But in that half second, he witnessed a scene that he would never forget. The arrow split into 12 beams of light in midair, accurately hitting 12 key nodes of the portal. But it wasn't destruction, as Harold had expected. Instead, it was deconstruction. With each beam of light that landed, a rune stone automatically detached and floated in the air. Energy conduits broke apart automatically. The whole process was smooth as flowing water, as if an invisible engineering team was working in unison. Harold's hand froze in midair, his mouth hanging open, as if he could fit a fist in. What had he just seen? This was a monster capable of performing 12 precise operations in mere fractions of a second. My gods, you are... Daniel turned his head, giving him a casual glance. Can I continue? Harold silently withdrew his hand.
Ding.
Do you wish to deconstruct this portal?
Confirm.
The next second, a miracle happened. The massive portal began to break down into countless tiny light particles, with runestones automatically detaching and floating in the air, and energy conduits hovering in place. The entire deconstruction process was orderly, as if an invisible hand were performing a delicate operation. What? Harold's wrench fell to the ground with a clatter. This can't be. In just 30 seconds, the once complete portal turned into a neat pile of materials on the ground. Deconstruction successful. Obtained. Spatial stone core material, ×1, spatial runes ×12, energy conduits ×8, base stone times several. Daniel glanced at the materials, a plan forming in his mind. He opened the guild panel and sold all the materials to Doom Guild.
Ding.
You are selling items to Doom Guild. Full portal materials, price 1 copper coin, triggering millionfold boost. Boost option. Quantity boost / quality boost. Daniel selected quantity boost. Congratulations. You have obtained teleportation stones, core material, ×1, 000, 000, spatial runes ×12, 000, 000, energy conduits ×8, 000, 000, base stones. A massive amount of materials instantly appeared in the guild warehouse, piling up into small mountains. Daniel took a set of complete materials and began to rebuild the portal. His hands moved quickly through the air, drawing energy lines that interwove, with runes automatically embedding and energy conduits precisely connecting. 5 minutes later, a brand new portal appeared in the same spot. It was bigger, more refined, and its energy fluctuations were more stable than the original. Harold stood there with his mouth agape, his eyes nearly popping out. Legendary grade. You must be a legendary grade engineer, at the very least. But how is this possible? You're only level 50. Daniel patted his hands and turned to look at him. Do you believe me now? But to Daniel's surprise, the next moment Harold suddenly dropped to his knees. Master, I've been stuck at the SSS level for 20 years. How did you do this?
Can you teach me?
Daniel pulled him up. Get up first. I have business to attend to. He pointed to the newly built portal. I want to build a teleportation network all over Luminera. Major districts, important instance entrances, business areas, quest hubs, all covered with portals. Harold's eyes widened. How many materials and energy will this take? Plus, the main city council would never approve. Daniel interrupted him. I have the materials as for the approval. He stared at Harold. You're the main city portal administrator. Isn't that your job? Harold paused for a moment, then slapped his thigh. Right. I'm the administrator. I can approve it. Those old fools at the main city council don't know anything about engineering. He rubbed his hands excitedly. So, how do you want to build it? Daniel opened the map and quickly marked the locations. One main station in the central square, one in the East District Shopping Street, one in the West District Instance area, one in the South District Quest Hall, one in the North District Residential area. Also, at the entrances of major guilds, several popular instance entrances, and city gates, a total of 37 points. Harold gasped. 37? The workload. Don't worry, I'll provide the materials. Daniel said calmly. Also, once all the portals are built, you'll get 20% of the income. Luminera gets 1%. Harold's eyes instantly lit up. Deal. In the next few hours, NPCs all over Luminera witnessed a spectacular scene. A figure with a silver bow was flying across the city, followed by Harold, who was eagerly trailing behind him. Every time Daniel landed at a spot, he would tinker with it for a while, and then a brand new portal would appear there. John, I'm not seeing things, right? There's suddenly a portal in the shopping street. There's one in the quest hall, too. There's one at the city gate. What's going on? Is Luminera developing? I just saw Harold over there messing with it. Could he have built this? Don't joke. Harold's portals start malfunctioning after a while. How could he build so many? And with so much material waste, how could the city lord approve this? So, what's the explanation for this then? At 10 p.m., the last portal was completed. Daniel stood in front of the central square, looking at his masterpiece with satisfaction. 37 portals now covered the entire city. Each portal had its usage permission set. Apart from NPCs, only players from World 616 could use them at a cost of 1 copper coin per use. This meant that starting tomorrow, all players from World 616 could teleport to any corner of Luminera for just 1 copper coin. Doing quests? No need to run around. Going to an instance? Simply teleport right to the entrance. Returning to town to turn in a quest? A 1-second trip. This would completely change the gameplay efficiency for players from World 616. 1 copper coin was practically nothing for both players and NPCs. Hearing this pricing, Harold was stunned. The materials and cost for building a single portal were astronomical. And now, a copper coin per use? It would take forever to break even. He thought Daniel was here to monopolize the business, but he didn't expect him to be running a charity. Harold stood by, watching Daniel's back, deep in thought. After finishing everything, Daniel checked the time, 10:30 p.m. It was time to log off and rest. Daniel sat up from the game pod, stretching his neck. The room felt familiar, and the night view outside the window was just as it always was. But this time, his feelings were completely different. He picked up his phone and opened social media. The top trending topic. All players are born in Starter Village 616. What does this mean? Clicking on it, he found expert analyses flooding the feed. Based on current data, all players worldwide are born in Starter Village 616. Does this mean our world has been labeled as World 616 by the game system? More worryingly, we've made contact with players from other parallel worlds, but the results suggest that these other worlds' inhabitants might not be so friendly. Daniel furrowed his brow. His memories from previous lives resurfaced. The World War indeed broke out during the mid-game. Human factions from different numbered worlds fought brutally for resources. He kept scrolling down. Second trending topic. Who is the great player Faustus? What's his mindset? The comments below were all over the place. I'll start. He's definitely a professional gamer. Even professional gamers aren't this crazy. He hit level 50 in a day and soloed a boss. I think he's an insider from the game company. An insider wouldn't dare do this. Aren't they afraid of being banned? Banned? The GM would probably be too scared of him to ban him. Haha. I think he's a reincarnator. Do you believe it? A reincarnator? Why don't you just say he's a god descended from the heavens? Forget everything else. Just the fact that Faustus is selling gear at a low price. I'm totally for him. Yeah, I'm a fan now. Faustus, take me to the top. Daniel smiled and was about to put his phone down when he suddenly remembered something. He opened his phone's banking app and stared at the $50 billion in his account. This was the real-world currency transferred to him by the system after selling the money bags and triggering the millionfold boost. At the time, he was so excited that he hadn't thought much about what this meant. But now, staring at the number, a cold sweat started to form. The game system was influencing the real world. In his previous lives, nothing like this had ever happened. But this time, Daniel stared at the phone screen, his mind racing. If millionfold boost could affect real-world currency, could it also affect other things? If the boundaries between the game and the real world were blurring, what did that mean? It meant that the disaster of the game turning into reality could have already started 3 years earlier than expected. Daniel took a deep breath, forcing himself to calm down. No matter what, he needed to prepare. He opened his computer and set up a carefully prepared virtual bank account. This account was routed through a dozen overseas banks, making it impossible to trace back to him. Then, he started the transfers. $1 billion to a real estate company in country A to purchase a large plot of land in the Aller district. $100 billion to a construction company in country B, commissioning the building of an underground fortress. Requirements: nuclear-proof, biohazard-proof, self-sustaining, able to house 1,000 people for 100 years. Next, he contacted a supplier in country C to order the highest quality game pods and top-tier nutritional solutions for 3 years. One transfer after another, the complex orders were quickly confirmed amidst a flurry of banknotes. By 3 a.m., all arrangements were in place. Daniel lay back on his bed, staring at the ceiling. The construction of the fortress would take time. Even though he had offered far more than expected, with the promise of gathering the world's top building firms for the job, it would still take at least 3 months. The nutritional solutions and game pods would probably arrive tomorrow. Over the next 3 months, he had to continue getting stronger in the game while closely monitoring the changes in the real world. The next morning, when Daniel woke up, the game pods and nutritional solutions had already arrived at his door. After assembling everything, Daniel logged into the game at 9 a.m. A flash of light, and he appeared in Luminera's central square. The portals around him were already in use, with players coming in and out, all wearing expressions of excitement. Holy shit, this portal really only costs 1 copper coin. I just teleported from the shopping street to the instance entrance. I got there in 1 second. Luminera's transport system is so convenient now. Does Doom Guild still recruit? I've applied for 3 hours. Who knows? I applied last night. Daniel smiled and didn't respond. Instead, he opened the message panel. The next moment, the system notifications exploded like firecrackers.
Ding.
You have 999 plus private messages.
Ding.
You have 999 plus friend requests.
Ding.
Your trade market order has been completed. Please check.
Ding.
Daniel was stunned by the barrage of notifications. He quickly silenced all the message alerts temporarily. Then he opened the trade market backend. Before he logged off last night, he had listed all the gear he obtained from the event. He set the items to be sold after 3 hours, exactly when he was offline. But now that he logged back in, the expected orders were flooding in. Trade market order settlement. Items sold, 3,847. Trigger millionfold boost. Total income in gold coins, 4,524,673,892. Congratulations. You obtained legendary grade gear/materials times 3,847. Congratulations. You obtained supreme grade items times 2. Daniel froze. Over 3,000 legendary grade items? He took a deep breath and opened his backpack. The entire backpack space was packed full with various gleaming items. There were over 2,000 pieces of legendary grade gear. The rest were legendary grade materials, including dragon scales, dragon blood, silver grade ores, arcane crystals. At the most prominent spot in the backpack, 2 items emitted a unique red-gold glow. These were the 2 supreme grade pieces of gear and materials. The first item was a pair of miniature wings. They were entirely black, with red-black glowing patterns on the edges, and just looking at them made Daniel feel the terrifying energy within. Black Dragon King's Protection, Supreme Grade. Magical Defense, plus 2,000. Physical Defense, plus 2,000. Skill 1, Dark Dragon Wings. Flying Speed plus 8,000%, immune to all magic damage while flying. Skill 2, Dragon King's Pressure. Passive effect, applies pressure to legendary grade and below creatures, reducing all attributes by 30%. Can be activated to stun all enemies within 100 meters, inducing fear for 3 seconds, cooldown 5 minutes. Skill 3, Shadow Shelter. When attacked, automatically triggers a shadow shield, absorbing 20,000 damage and rebounding 100% of the damage to the attacker. The shield lasts for 10 seconds, cooldown 5 minutes. Skill 4, Black Dragon Bloodline. All 4 core attributes plus 500, HP plus 10,000, MP plus 10,000, all attribute resistances plus 50%. Equipment requirement, level 50 or higher, Constitution 500 plus. Description, forged using the Black Dragon Wing as the core, combined with supreme grade strength from the Dragon Clan. When you spread your wings, you are the ruler of the dark sky. Daniel's breath slowed for a moment. All 4 core attributes plus 500. HP and MP both plus 10,000. Flying speed 8,000%, immunity to magic damage? Without a second thought, he equipped the Black Dragon Wings. Strangely, he didn't feel any weight, nor could he see any equipment on his back. With a thought, 2 enormous Black Dragon Wings instantly unfolded from his back. They spanned over 10 meters, and every feather glimmered with a cold metallic sheen, with red arcs of lightning dancing on the edges. With a thought, he shot into the sky, soaring to a height of 1 kilometer in an instant.
Fast. Too fast.
He tried performing a roll in midair, and the movement was so fluid it felt like he had always been a flying creature. The surrounding players only saw a shadow flash by, and then nothing. Holy shit, what just flew past? A bird? Does your bird have 10-meter wings? This is a game. Are you an idiot? Daniel landed back on the ground, retracting his wings. Then he looked at the second item. It was a crystal core the size of a fist, shining brilliantly like a diamond, with a golden dragon silhouette faintly visible swimming inside. Sacred Dragon Core, Supreme Grade / Special Material. Type, Pet Evolution Material. Effect, a Supreme Grade crystal core containing the essence of the Sacred Dragon Clan's bloodline can be used for pet evolution. Feeding it to a dragon-type pet will evolve it into a higher-grade dragon species, unlocking new forms and skills. Currently compatible, Earthmount Dragon, Ancient Dragon, to after evolution, can advance to Supreme Grade. Note, the higher the pet's level, the higher the evolution success rate. It's recommended to use it on pets level 100 or higher. Description, awakened unexpectedly by Supreme Grade strength, this crystal core can change the fate of a dragon descendant. Daniel's eyes lit up. He quickly opened the pet space. The little stone dragon was curled up and fast asleep. After finishing off its eggshell last night, it had fallen into a deep sleep. Earthmount Dragon, Ancient Dragon, LV-15. Status, sleeping, digesting energy. Estimated awakening time, 23 hours. Daniel smiled and closed the pet space. No rush, he would wait for it to wake up. By then, the Sacred Dragon Core would be for it. He focused on his attribute panel. Player, Faustus. Level, 50, Experience Pool Overflow. Strength, 755 to plus 500 is equal to 1,255. Intelligence, 755 to plus 500 is equal to 1,255. Agility, 755 to plus 500 is equal to 1,255. Constitution, 755 to plus 500 is equal to 1,255. Daniel stared at the numbers, silent for a full 5 seconds. All attributes at 1255. And with the various broken skills of the Black Dragon Wings. If he stood still and let a level 50 monster attack him, it would probably take them quite a while to break his defenses. And this was only the first day since the game started. He took a deep breath and closed the panel. It was time to head to the Archer Guild to do the Star Ascension quest. Soon, Daniel arrived at the Archer Guild in Main City. The most luxurious building on the entire street, it was made entirely of white jade, with 2 elven archer statues at the entrance and exquisitely elegant interiors. In contrast, the Warrior Guild next door looked like a few large stones stacked together, rough and simple. Daniel walked into the lobby, where many NPC archers were active. They all had different levels and task difficulties displayed above their heads. Junior Instructor provides FC level Star Ascension quests. Intermediate Instructor provides BA level Star Ascension quests. Advanced Instructor provides SSS level Star Ascension quests. Secret Instructor provides SSS level and above Star Ascension quests. Daniel walked straight to the innermost area, where a mysterious figure, cloaked and with an indistinguishable face, stood. Secret Instructor, Shadow Song. I want to take the Star Ascension quest, the hardest one. Shadow Song raised her head, revealing deep eyes. She gave Daniel a once-over, a faint smile curling her lips. A level 50 burst shot god. Interesting. She handed him a scroll. Star Ascension quest, Shadow of the Dark God, SSS level. Quest description. The southern town of Greyvale has been occupied by a group of cultists who worship an extra-dimensional evil god. They have activated an altar, tearing the earth apart and summoning the projection of the evil god. The most elite warriors are needed to go to Greyvale, destroy the altar, and kill the cult's high priest. Quest objective. Kill the cult's high priest, LV 55 Black Gold grade boss. Destroy the evil god's altar. Quest rewards. +1 class star, +100 attributes. Unlock upgrade permissions. Unlock new class skills. After accepting the quest, Daniel was immediately teleported away. His vision blurred, and he found himself standing under a dim sky. The town ahead was shrouded in thick black mist, and through the mist, he could vaguely make out twisted building outlines. The air was filled with the stench of decay and sulfur, the ground cracked, and black slime seeped out from the fissures.
Ding.
You have entered the special area, Greyvale Town. Area effect. Continuously affected by the evil god's whispers, losing 1% HP per second. Daniel glanced at his HP and smiled. Infinite Grail during combat. It restores 1% HP per second. Since he was already in combat mode as he entered the map, the 1% HP loss and the 1% HP recovery perfectly balanced out. He walked boldly into the black mist. The town was eerily silent. The houses along the streets had broken windows and doors, and various debris littered the ground. But what was most bizarre were the wandering creatures. They still had human bodies, but their heads had transformed into various animals' wolf heads, deer heads, and even pig heads. They crawled on all fours like beasts, growling lowly. Aberration, LV 35, common grade. Daniel raised his hand and shot an arrow. The arrow pierced through a wolf-headed creature's chest, exploding it into pieces. The surrounding aberrations were alerted and rushed towards him with a growl. Daniel fired several more arrows, instantly clearing the wave. He pressed on. The further he went towards the town center, the stronger the monsters became. LV-40 fused one's human bodies with multiple animal heads, with bizarre attack patterns. LV-45 twisted one's bodies completely deformed, like piles of rotten flesh growing countless arms and legs, slowly crawling. Daniel looked at these grotesque humanoids, feeling disgusted. While these monsters were weak and couldn't even break his defenses, the sight of them was repulsive.
Boom.
Rumbling violently. In a flash faster than the ear could catch, Daniel obliterated every low-level monster into scraps, feeling a rush of satisfaction as he approached the town's central square. The mist here was even thicker than at the outskirts, pressing down like a dark, suffocating blanket. Visibility was barely 10 meters. The outlines of buildings loomed faintly in the fog, like dormant beasts waiting to strike. The air was thick with the stench of decay and sulfur, making Daniel's stomach churn. Beneath his feet, the ground was cracked in a web-like pattern, black viscous liquid oozing from the fissures, bubbling with a gurgling sound. The streams of this liquid converged, flowing in a single direction toward the center of the square. There, a massive altar had been constructed. Black monoliths were arranged in a circle, each stone engraved with twisted runes that faintly glowed dark red. At the center of the altar, a gaping chasm split the ground, from which black mist surged continuously, writhing as if alive. Around the altar stood a dozen or so figures, clad in black robes and wearing grotesque masks. The masks bore twisted faces, the eye holes appearing as nothing but two dark voids, seemingly capable of swallowing the soul. Cultist LV-50 Iron Grade Monster. Iron Grade equals Elite Grade. They were performing some kind of ritual, gesticulating wildly, muttering incantations under their breath. The whispers overlapped into a chorus, as though countless voices murmured directly into Daniel's ears. Without hesitation, Daniel knocked an arrow and drew his bow. Explosive rain of arrows.
Swish. Swish.
Swish. A torrent of arrows descended from the sky, covering the entire altar. The cultists felt a sudden chill above their heads, and when they looked up, a sky full of glowing points rained down like a shower of light. Could it be? The dark god has heard our call? One cultist cried in ecstatic joy, arms raised to the sky. No, this is an attack. The lead cultist shouted in panic, but it was already too late. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh.
Boom, 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 boom.
The earth shook and mountains quivered. Dust and smoke roiled everywhere. The black stones of the altar shattered into fragments. The cultists barely had time to scream before they were swallowed by the flames of the explosion. The iron-grade monsters, frozen in shock, were reduced to fragments under the barrage. As the smoke gradually cleared, Daniel sheathed his bow and stepped toward the ruined altar. Severed limbs littered the ground, black blood seeping into the cracked earth. The cultists' masks lay broken in pieces, revealing the twisted faces beneath. Some were young, some lined with age, yet all shared the same final expression: madness, fanaticism, and a hint of bizarre release. Daniel crouched and used the tip of his arrow to pull aside the robe of one corpse. A twisted sigil was etched onto its chest, a downward-facing eye encircled by tentacle-like lines. His pupils contracted slightly. He had seen the symbol before. During his fourth reincarnation, he had encountered similar tattoos on the bodies of fallen, aberrant races. Though the details differed, the twisted style and the innate sense of unease it inspired were unmistakable. Daniel rose and scanned his surroundings. The altar, the chasm, the black mist, the cultists, these deformed creatures reminded him of the beast turned he had seen in Windmill Town. Could all of this be connected to that underground church? Fragments of memories from his previous 4 lives flickered rapidly through his mind. In his first life, he focused solely on leveling, indifferent to the world, knowing only that monsters existed to be slain for experience. In his second, he vowed to defeat the Dark God and save all beings, delving into hidden quests and gradually realizing that Stellar's worldview was far more complex than it appeared. Magic, gods, the Dark God, racial wars, and countless hidden conspiracies all interwoven. In his third life, he joined a major guild, gaining access to secret intelligence, the existence of parallel world wars, humans clashing across worlds, and the ever-looming threat of the Dark God over humanity. By his fourth life, he had reached unparalleled heights, yet could only watch as the Dark God descended, seeing the alien races submit or be slain, witnessing humanity's banners burn to ashes. How had those corrupted goblins, beast folk, and seafarers fallen under the Dark God's control? Daniel's gaze landed on the black mist swirling above the altar's chasm. In Windmill Town, the anti-holy grail of the Dark God had infected the miners, spreading throughout the town. Here, the cultists performed rituals to summon the Dark God's strength, birthing deformed monsters. Both phenomena seemed to stem from the same source. The Dark God's strength could infect living beings and corrupt the mind. In Windmill Town, the miners were passively infected. These cultists, however, had approached it willingly. Daniel frowned. Who were these people? Why did they worship the Dark God? For strength? Immortality? Or had they been simply bewitched? Was there a greater organization behind them? Memories from his previous lives began to assemble. He recalled tales of how, before descending, the Dark God sent emissaries to various worlds to spread faith, cultivate followers, and build altars. These disciples would attempt to tear the world's barriers, paving the way for the Dark God's arrival. And this altar, this chasm, this black mist, wasn't it doing exactly that, ripping the barriers apart? Daniel's eyes narrowed. If so, the cultists' purpose was clear. Even as mere projections, if left unchecked, any corner of this world could become a stronghold of the Dark God. Then, it wouldn't just be small-scale transformations like beastification, it would be a full-scale
Roar. Oh.
At that moment, deep, guttural howls erupted from the chasm, snapping Daniel out of his thoughts. The black mist began to surge violently, boiling like a cauldron of water. A grating voice echoed from the depths, carrying a subtle psychic assault that made Daniel's vision waver. He stepped back instinctively, knocking an arrow in readiness. A massive figure slowly rose from the chasm. First, Daniel saw a cluster of eyes. The enormous head was bald, covered with dozens of eyes crowded together, each rotating to survey all directions. Within each pupil was a reflection of a different scene: burning villages, crying children, mountains of corpses. The pale human face was almost entirely consumed by eyes, leaving only a mouth that remained normal. Its grin stretched to the ears, revealing jagged black teeth, emitting a horrifying, otherworldly laughter. Dark Acolyte, LV-55, Black Gold Grade Boss. The Dark Acolyte hovered in midair, dozens of eyes simultaneously fixated on Daniel, each burning with rage and hatred. You destroyed my altar, killed my followers. His voice emanated as if from countless throats, at once shrill, eerie, and unnatural. Do you know what you're doing? Daniel stared at him without expression. The Dark Acolyte spread his arms, and the eyes began to spin wildly. We devote ourselves here. We pray here. We await the arrival of the Great One. How dare you? How dare you, wretched insect? His voice grew higher, more frenzied with every word. You don't even understand. You don't comprehend. The Great Being is about to descend, and you ants, you pitiful ants, shall kneel before its feet. Daniel raised an eyebrow. The Great Being? You mean the Dark God? The Dark Acolyte froze for a moment, then let out a cold, sinister laugh. Dark God? Ha ha ha. You mortals, using your meager words and limited comprehension to define that which cannot be understood. Dark God?
No.
That is a law that existed at the dawn of the universe. You are the intruders. You are the heretics. His agitation grew, and the eyes began to redden, bloodshot and furious. You will never understand. Ants like you can only kneel and tremble when the Great Being descends, begging for its mercy. A faint smile curled on Daniel's lips. Sorry, I've seen it. It's nothing but a giant worm, isn't it? The Dark Acolyte's laughter abruptly stopped. What? I said I've seen your so-called Great Being. Daniel's tone was calm. I've seen it more than once. Yes, it's powerful enough to make anyone despair. But in the end, it's just a big worm, isn't it? The Dark Acolyte froze for a second, then let out a roar of fury.
Dummland.
Arrogant. Ignorant. Pathetic. You saw the Great Being and lived? Do you take me for a 3-year-old child?
You foolish blasphemer.
In the next moment, Daniel felt a sharp pain strike his mind. Countless illusions flooded his brain, failures from past lives, the deaths of comrades, the dark god's mockery.
Ding.
You have been targeted by a mind-type skill. Due to special equipment Demon's Whisper, you are immune to all negative status effects. Every hallucination vanished instantly. Daniel's head throbbed faintly. Although he was immune to the illusions, the mental attack itself was real. But his eyes were clear, and a smile tugged at the corner of his mouth. This guy's only real difficulty was psychic illusions, but fortunately, Daniel could shrug off all negative states. As for mental attacks, he had endured far worse through 4 cycles of rebirth pain beyond this fool's imagination.
Whoosh.
An arrow shot straight for the dark acolyte's face.
Boom.
Minus 35,895. The explosion erupted across the dark acolyte's face, forcing him several steps back. Pain and rage flickered simultaneously in his eyes. How dare you? Daniel activated Godspeed, creating distance, and fired another arrow. You talk too much. The battle turned into a one-sided massacre. The dark acolyte's psychic interference was completely useless. Daniel ignored mental attacks entirely. All he could do was swing his staff and cast spells. But with Daniel's agility 755 and Godspeed, none of the attacks could touch him. After just one rapid volley, the dark acolyte's HP dropped to 60%. 2 volleys later, it fell to 20%. Cursed human, how dare you desecrate the will of the dark god? The dark acolyte shrieked, dozens of eyes simultaneously bloodshot, glowing crimson. Just as Daniel prepared the final strike, the dark acolyte let out a painful roar and his body began to swell violently. Then, to Daniel's stunned gaze, it self-destructed.
Boom.
Its lower body exploded, and the enormous eyes on its head shattered, black blood splattering everywhere. A foul stench assaulted Daniel's nose, forcing him to retreat several meters. But the decayed flesh and blood didn't fall, they seemed pulled by some unnatural strength, sliding entirely into the abyss. Seconds later, the abyss shook violently. A slimy tentacle emerged, resting on the edge of the altar. It was as thick as a bucket, covered in countless sharp teeth, wriggling continuously. Then a second, a third. A completely different monster crawled from the depths. Its lower body was all tentacles, dozens of them supporting a massive torso. Its upper body barely retained human shape, but the flesh was blood-red, slimy, as if skinned and soaked in blood. Viscous fluid oozed from the surface, dripping onto the floor, corroding pits into the ground. Most terrifying was its head, or rather, it had no head. In its hands, it held a perfectly intact human head, face twisted in agony, mouth opening and closing. It was the dark acolyte's face. Dark God's Plaything, LV-55, Black Gold Grade Boss. Phase 2. Daniel frowned. Disgusting, but disgusting or not, it had to die. He raised his hand and unleashed another volley. This Dark God's Plaything was tougher than the first phase, HP at least double, at least 150,000. The tentacles swung, blocking arrows, almost hitting him a few times. But to Daniel, that HP was already brittle. He created distance and activated Arrow Storm. A stream of golden arrows shot into the sky, splitting into dozens of falling bolts, trailing golden flames like a meteor shower. Boom, boom, boom. Explosions tore across the battlefield. 2 tentacles were severed. The creature shrieked in pain, swinging the remaining ones in an attempt to reach him. Daniel activated Godspeed, dodging to the other side, then unleashed another volley of explosive arrows. Arrow after arrow pierced the twisted flesh, pinning it to the floor. It struggled to rise, but the raining arrows forced it back down again and again. Boom, boom, boom. Explosions rocked the ground, making it sink half a meter. Daniel had remained tens of meters away the entire time. The foul dark god's creation never came within 20 meters of him. Finally, under the relentless storm of arrows, it was annihilated, twitching its tentacles a few last times before falling still. The human head it had clutched rolled onto the ground, a bizarre serenity on its face.
Ding.
You have slain Dark God's Plaything, Black Gold Grade Boss. Rewards: Luck plus 20, Elven Pendant, Black Gold Grade, ×1, Windrunner Ring, Black Gold Grade, ×1. Quest complete. Return to Archer Guild to submit. Daniel examined the 2 items.
Elven Pendant, Black Gold Grade Accessory.
Effect: Agility plus 100, Critical Damage plus 30%, All Arrows Pierce plus 1. Description: A masterpiece crafted by elven artisans, as light as the wind. Windrunner Ring, Black Gold Grade / Accessory. Effect: Attack speed plus 25%, movement speed plus 25%, evasion plus 15%. Description: Wearing it, you become the embodiment of wind. Seeing both were bound items, Daniel immediately equipped them. His agility rose from 1,255 to 1,355, critical damage jumped to 530%, and attack speed increased further.
Ah, satisfying.
He gave the ruined town one last glance before vanishing from sight. Behind him, only the shattered altar and dissipating black mist remained. Archer Guild. Shadow Song stood in the guild hall, watching as Daniel's figure materialized via teleportation. I didn't expect you to complete the quest so quickly. Piece of cake. Daniel replied as he submitted the quest items: the Dark Acolyte's necklace and a shard of the altar. Shadow Song accepted the items, eyes flickering with surprise. They were completely destroyed. What exactly did you do there? It was raining heavily, and there was lightning too. Daniel scratched his nose. Shadow Song studied him thoughtfully. After enduring that level of psychic assault, your mental state is surprisingly stable, very strange.
Ding.
Congratulations. You have completed the SSS rank Star Ascension quest, Shadow of the Dark God. Class Star Level 2. Max level cap unlocked, 70. Attribute points plus 100 freely assignable. New class skill unlocked, Shattering Comet. Shattering Comet SSS rank. Effect. Fired arrows split into multiple branching arrows, each dealing 200% damage with armor-breaking effect. Cooldown, 5 minutes. MP cost, 1,000. Daniel's eyes lit up. 200% damage and armor break? Combined with Arrow Storm for clearing crowds, this skill was practically unstoppable. He allocated all 100 points to agility, bringing his 4 core attributes to 1,455. A terrifying stat, each individual attribute rivaled that of a player over 100 levels higher. Extreme, yes, but he was aiming for full development. It was clear just how powerful the Heart of Balance Supreme Grade had been in amplifying him. Along with Demon's Whisper, Infinite Grail, and Black Dragon King's Protection, all Supreme Grade equipment contributed unmatched bonuses. At this point, Daniel was virtually untouchable, even if surrounded by players. At that moment, the system alert sounded.
Ding.
Excess experience detected in your EXP pool.
Auto-leveling initiated.
Golden light burst from Daniel, one wave after another. Level up. 51 to 52 to 53. Level up. 60 to 61 to 62. Level up. 68 to 69 to 70. The golden light flashed 20 times, illuminating the entire Archer Guild Hall. Nearby NPCs turned their heads. Several players holding quest scrolls were dumbfounded, letting the scrolls drop without noticing. Shadow Song stood to the side, eyes widening more and more. When the light finally faded, Daniel opened his character panel. Current level, 70. Max level. Next Star Ascension quest required to continue leveling. Shadow Song was silent for 3 seconds, then spoke slowly. How much experience have you accumulated? Daniel thought for a moment. Overflowed from level 50, killed several bosses, cleared a map before I knew it. Before you knew it? Shadow Song's mouth twitched in disbelief. Do you realize how long it normally takes a player to go from level 50 to 70? At least a month. You did it in 30 seconds. Daniel smiled. Just got lucky. Shadow Song took a deep breath, trying to calm herself. By the way, do you need to start the next Star Ascension quest? Not for now. To continue leveling, he would need the next stage of Star Ascension quests, but he suddenly remembered something he hadn't done. Players were already streaming into the main city, and his layout had to be finalized immediately. Daniel stepped out of the Archer Guild, observing the bustling streets. Players trained, ran quests, and cleared instances with fervor. Some had just stepped out of the Starter Village portal, eyes wide at the splendor of Luminera. Some grouped together, rushing outside the city, shouting, "Still need one healer." Some set up stalls by the roadside, hawking items cheaply until fully armored city guards dragged them off for education. No one knew that 3 years later, this place would become a real battlefield. No one knew threats from other worlds were approaching. No one even realized the boundaries between game and reality were beginning to blur. Daniel inhaled deeply. There was still much to do. Increase his power. Secure resources. Develop the human race's overall strength. Monitor otherworldly movements. And prepare a real-world fortress.
Ding.
New gold coin received. Plus 1 gold coin.
Ding.
New gold coin received. Plus 1 gold coin.
Ding.
New gold coin received. Plus 1 gold coin. Daniel opened his mailbox to a flood of notifications. He checked the message logs. Player soared to the sky, used Luminera portal, consumed 1 copper coin, triggered millionfold boost. You gained 1 gold coin. Player Nightingale used Luminera portal, consumed 1 copper coin, triggered millionfold boost. You gained 1 gold coin. Player Rhinewatcher used Luminera portal, consumed 1 copper coin, triggered millionfold boost. You gained 1 gold coin. Player. The notifications were countless, roughly several thousand. Daniel realized that the 37 portals he built in Luminera last night were now active. World channel. Holy shit. Look at Luminera. These buildings are insane. Quick, record a video for the forums. Gothic, Baroque, and Romanesque elements combined. It's magical. Unbelievable, these portals only cost 1 copper coin each? What's the difference from free? Wait, 1 copper coin? Are you kidding? Our world number 58 portals cost 1 silver coin each. Exactly, and our main city only has 1 portal, and it's ridiculously expensive. No way, the players in world number 616 must be hacking. Daniel smiled at the cheers in World Channel. This was only the beginning. He was about to close the messages and focus on business when he noticed a pile of unread emails. Opening them, he saw,
Ding.
You have 99 trade mails pending. Item. Money bag contains 10,000 gold coins times 99. Status. Sold. Awaiting your confirmation to deliver. Daniel slapped his forehead, almost forgot. After successfully selling the first money bag last night, he had listed the remaining 99 with free purchase permissions at 1 copper coin each, noting cash transaction required. He had expected it would take days, but they were all bought immediately. He checked the transaction record. Sold quantity, 99 money bags. Total price, 99 copper coins. Daniel opened his phone. Bank notifications instantly poured in. Your account ending XXXX received a transfer of $4,900,000. In just seconds, nearly $5 million had entered his account. He quickly reviewed it, then pressed one-click confirm delivery.
Ding.
You sold 99 money bags for 99 copper coins, triggering million-fold boost. Received, 99 gold coins, 990 billion gold coins.
Ding.
Transaction involves real-world currency, triggering real-world boost. Real-world boost. $4,950,000 times 1 million is equal to $4,950,000,000,000. His phone vibrated wildly again. This time, Daniel didn't even look. He silenced it and tossed it aside. Money? At this point, money had no meaning to him. Billions or trillions, what's the difference? None. His only goal now, get stronger and kill that damn octopus dark god. Daniel inhaled deeply, focusing back on the game. He activated Godspeed. The next second, he was already standing beside the main city central portal. Harold was leaning against a portal, hands fiddling with parts here and there. Seeing Daniel suddenly appear, he quickly withdrew his hands and coughed. Cough, cough, cough. Can you walk normally, or what? You scared the hell out of me. Daniel didn't waste words. Take me to the other 8 main cities. Harold froze. Why? To build portals. Harold's eyes nearly popped out, his wrench almost falling to the ground. You're insane. You don't mean you want to build portals in all 8 other main cities, do you? Do you know how much material that would cost? And those stingy administrators would never approve that kind of expense. Daniel said calmly, I'll cover the materials. The profits remain the same, 20% for you, 10% for each main city. Harold straightened immediately, his face full of righteous resolve. Let's go, right now. First stop, Galehold. This main city was built on sheer cliffs, where fierce winds howled year-round. The buildings were low, sturdy, and made of stone. The city lord, Robert Stormrider, a balding middle-aged man, sat in his office, troubled. Recently, beast folk had been causing problems at the border, and city defense funds were tight. He looked at Harold with a mix of resignation and suspicion. Not again. Is he here to beg for money? Harold was one of the 3 SSS-grade engineers specially employed by the 9 main cities. His position was unusually authoritative. Robert treated him with casual respect, but Galehold's defenses were already strained. If the portals malfunctioned, he'd have to pay willingly or not. Hee, my lord, I bring you tremendous news today. Go ahead. How much do you want? Robert didn't even look at him. Hey.
What are you talking about?
Harold said. I'll just put it simply, old man. Want me to build a portal for you for free? No, wait, what? Free. The introduction went astonishingly smoothly. After Harold's explanation, Robert looked at Daniel, bewildered. Is this person insane? He whispered to Harold. Harold, what's going on? You're one of the 3 SSS-grade engineers, yet you bring this kid to do this? Is he your new apprentice? Harold chuckled without answering. Daniel stepped forward calmly. I will personally provide all construction materials. After completion, Galehold will receive 10% of the profits. Robert froze. You're providing the materials yourself? And we only get 10%. Yes. Robert immediately nodded. Build it. Build anywhere in the city. A joke so long as he wasn't paying for materials, they could build 1,000 portals if they wanted. This guy must have more money than he knows what to do with.
Ding.
Harold has issued you a special quest on behalf of the 9 main city lords. Main cities hub construction.
Quest reward.
Harold shot Daniel a mischievous wink. Don't worry, Daniel. Since you're building portals for the 9 main cities, I won't let you be shortchanged. I'll negotiate with each lord to get you a satisfactory reward. Harold patted Daniel on the shoulder. Much obliged. Daniel silently added Harold to his friendship list. Soon, thanks to Harold's introductions, all 9 main city lords agreed to the portal constructions. Daniel immediately began the build. Throughout, he combined his skills and experience, explaining every step to Harold. From rune arrangements to energy conduit layouts, from foundation stone choices to spatial node positioning, he revealed every detail. Harold's eyes sparkled as he scribbled notes feverishly, muttering to himself. Second stop, Pyrehaven. The entire city lay at the foot of a volcano, the air thick with sulfur. When building the portal, lava zones had to be avoided. Daniel flew over the area, selected the optimal location, and finished in 10 minutes. Third stop, Snowspire. A frigid, icy land where breath froze instantly. Harold shivered in the tavern, refusing to come out. Daniel braved the blizzard alone, completing 3 portals in half an hour. Returning to the tavern, he found Harold surrounded 2 gorgeous women pouring drink after drink into him. Tavern Master, today's bill for Lord Harold is 78,250 gold coins. As a VIP guest, you only need to pay 78,000 gold coins.
Ah.
No problem, keep it all. Harold casually tossed a money bag. The tavern staff squeezed it, a strange expression on his face. Lord Harold, this money bag only contains 20,000 gold coins. This is a bit of a problem.
What?
A problem? Harold flushed, looking embarrassed at Daniel. Well, Daniel. Daniel rolled his eyes but stepped forward. Fine, I'll cover it.
Ding.
Current friendship with NPC Harold has increased to best friend. Daniel shook his head. Old man only raises friendship when he benefits, huh? In a single day, Daniel and Harold traveled to the 8 main cities. At least 30 portals were built in each city covering major commercial zones, instance entrances, quest halls, and guild districts. Money flowed like water. Yet Daniel didn't bat an eye. Money was the least of his concerns now. By 7 o'clock that evening, the portal network in the final main city, Skyhold, was completed. Skyhold floated above the clouds, all white buildings shimmering in mist, resembling a divine realm. The moment the final portal was built, all portals activated simultaneously, forming a network linking all 9 cities. A beam of light shot skyward.
Ding.
Congratulations! You have completed the special quest, 9 main cities portal network construction.
Quest rating SSS.
Rewards: 500,000 gold coins, 5 legendary material boxes, military merit plus 1,000, contribution points plus 4,000. Honorary title jointly awarded by the 9 main cities. Pioneer of Creation. Pioneer of Creation. Unique title luck plus 20, contribution points plus 5,000, 20% discount for buying or selling with all main city NPCs. Harold's face flushed with excitement. Done. I didn't expect it to be completed so fast. At the same time, a system notification rang throughout the stellar world.
Ding.
Global announcement. Player Faustus has completed the 9 main cities portal network, becoming the first player to link all 9 main cities. As the first to achieve this feat, his name will forever be engraved on the portal monuments of the 9 main cities. The golden announcement flashed 3 times before every player, each character shimmering with blinding golden light. World Channel. The portal network across the 9 main cities? Does that mean he built the portals? No way, we're still struggling in Starter Village, and he's already doing infrastructure? Faustus is the project manager of this game, right? Project manager? Does he have that authority? He's basically the boss. I give up. I seriously give up. Is this guy a GM? If so, can he drop some perks? Hey, Faustus, need any trinkets? The clingy kind. I suspect he's an alien vacationing on Earth. Alien. Not our fault. We're not this insane. Crimson Soul stood beside the Luminera portal, staring at the dreamlike main city before her, her expression complicated. She had just reached level 15, and arrived via portal with the crowd. She hadn't even gotten a proper look at the city's grandeur before the server-wide announcement hit. Established a portal network across all 9 main cities. She muttered to herself, looking up at the sky. This is absurd. How far has this game god gone? She clenched her fists. No, she had to level up fast. She had a strong premonition a massive wave of new players would soon flood the game. And that man was already far ahead of everyone. I must convince my family to focus on Stellar as soon as possible. This is definitely more than just a game. Rhine Guild Core Meeting Room. In the encrypted channel, projections of a dozen figures sat around a round table. Guildmaster Rhine Watcher sat at the head, a screen in front of him repeatedly playing recordings of Daniel building portals. The footage had been captured by other players in the main city. Let's hear your thoughts, his voice low and serious. Vice President Northwind spoke first. Without a doubt, all 37 portals in Luminera were built by him. Today he completed the remaining 8 main cities, at least 30 portals in each. This efficiency, no normal player could achieve it. So, you're saying he's a GM? Someone asked. GMs don't trigger server-wide announcements. Rhine Watcher shook his head. We've checked the forums. No internal accounts or staff records. All posts analyzing him are from regular players. After a few seconds of silence, Prospector, sitting in the corner, spoke slowly. Have you considered another possibility? Everyone turned to him. Compared to the Watcher, Prospector was the true mastermind of Rhine Guild, one of the top-tier figures of Blue Star. He rarely spoke, but when he did, his words often determined the final decision. This game. He paused, eyes deep, might be a real-world environment. Could it be? Everyone exchanged glances, recalling recent heated forum discussions. Some players had reportedly contacted players from other worlds their Starter Village IDs didn't match theirs. Yes, the reports about contacting other world players are true. I've also had people check the IP addresses of those posts are untraceable and the timestamps are strange. The meeting room fell silent. After a long moment, Rhine Watcher asked solemnly, "What do you think Faustus has to do with this?" Prospector shook his head, then nodded slightly. "I don't know. But his leveling speed and understanding of this game far exceed normal boundaries. Either he has insider information we don't know, or..." He didn't finish the sentence, but everyone understood. Either he's not a normal player. Keep engaging him, Prospector concluded. On favorable terms. You can't afford to offend someone like this at least superficially. Keep appearances. Ragnarok Guild, voice channel. Compared to Rhine Guild's seriousness, Ragnarok was far more chaotic. Haha, did you guys see World Channel? Someone said Faustus is his dad. Pfft, just a player, yet people worship him now. He's only completed a few hidden tasks we haven't found yet. Wait, I'll surpass him in no time. You? You haven't even left Starter Village. Shut up. Guildmaster Duskfawn cleared his throat to suppress the chatter. Let's get serious. What do you think about Faustus? Pervert. Someone summed up succinctly. Cut the nonsense. Give me useful info. An analyst handed over a report. We analyzed all public data on Faustus. His leveling speed is over 100 times that of a normal player. His gear is at least 2 tiers above current players. His accumulated wealth is preliminarily estimated at over 1 million gold coins. Dusk Fong narrowed his eyes. You're saying he's cheating? Not necessarily, another analyst said. This game has no traceable network endpoints. We don't know where the servers are. Even if he wanted to cheat, he couldn't do it. So, how is he achieving this? No one had an answer. Dusk Fong fell silent for a moment, then smiled. Interesting, just like this game world. Mysterious as hell. He stood, pacing in the virtual meeting room. Keep observing him. Also, prepare an invitation, invite him to join our guild. Anything money can solve is nothing. He paused, a glint of coldness in his eyes. If money can't solve it, then we'll use other means. Stormbound Guild, encrypted channel. Compared to other guilds' caution, Stormbound Guild's discussion was far more direct. Guildmaster Vanthian, gold rings on his fingers, a chain of gold around his neck, exuded a nouveau riche arrogance. A subordinate spoke cautiously. Guildmaster, this person is not ordinary. Not ordinary? Vanthian interrupted, disdainful. I've seen plenty of not ordinary people. And the outcome. They either became our servants or disappeared. A lone wolf, lucky enough to pick up some gear, thinking he's special? Vanthian stood, a sharp gleam in his eyes. Send him a message, demand he transfer portal profits to us. We, Stormbound Guild, will ensure his safety in the main cities. Otherwise. Guildmaster, isn't that too direct? Other guilds are trying to court him. Direct? Do we, in the Ganji server, need to be polite to a solo player? Vanthian sneered. His subordinate didn't dare speak further, sending the message silently. Seconds later, Vanthian's expression changed. Guildmaster, he blocked me. Vanthian froze, then erupted in fury. Good. Excellent. He sent another message in the guild channel. Attention all Stormbound Guild members. From today, Faustus is our enemy. Share coordinates immediately if encountered in the field. Whoever kills him will receive a $1 million reward. The channel erupted in cheers, though some muttered privately. Guildmasters lost it? That's a god-level player who can solo black gold grade bosses. Even sending all of Stormbound after him, they might not win. Beside the Skyhold portal, Daniel scrolled through a string of messages in the private chat channel. Rhine Guild's probing messages? Ignored. Ragnarok's friendly overtures? Ignored. As for the staggering offer from the Morgan Consortium, he chuckled. For the Morgans, money was never an issue. This attitude matched his current mindset perfectly. Without the system, he probably would have been buried under all that wealth and confused. As for Stormbound Guild's threats, he glanced at the message, a faint smile curling on his lips. A bunch of idiots, he muttered softly, then blocked them. Threaten him? He had seen plenty of this kind of trash in his past life. Those who screamed the loudest usually died the fastest. Now, every major guild had begun to notice him, study him, and planned against him. But he had been mentally prepared for this. And at his current level, he feared no threat. It wouldn't be long before these guilds realized exactly how formidable he was. Snap. At that moment, Harold grabbed Daniel's arm, his face red with excitement. I get it. I finally get it. Daniel felt dizzy from the shaking. What do you get? He asked. Harold's eyes glimmered, his face flushed and neck thick, speaking incoherently. I've been stuck at SSS rank for 20 years and never understood what I was missing. Watching you build so many portals today, I finally understand. He released Daniel's arm, spinning excitedly in place. I've been building with an engineer's mindset, pursuing perfection, stability, and absolute safety. But you use the creator's mindset. You don't think about how to build a portal, you think about what kind of portal I want and build that. He stopped abruptly, staring Daniel down. This is what I was missing. He solemnly took a badge from his chest and handed it to Daniel. His hands trembled slightly, as if entrusting something precious. Received, Level 2 Honor Medal, Universal in Human Cities. This is for you. From now on, in all human territories, you're one of us. Daniel accepted the medal, barely speaking, when Harold grabbed his shoulder again. I have business to attend to. I'll try my promotion now. When I succeed, I'll definitely buy you a drink. You don't know, the girls in Snow Spire are wild, hee. With that, Harold disappeared in a flash. Daniel smiled at the medal in his hand. No wonder Harold had been studying hard in the 8 main cities, until Snow Spire, where he ran straight to the tavern. He stowed the medal and turned toward Skyhold's commercial management office. There was one important task left. Skyhold Commercial Management Office was located beside the Lord's Mansion, a building entirely of white jade. The sunset bathed the building in warm golden light, making it breathtakingly beautiful. 2 guards in ornate armor stood at the entrance, holding long halberds, eyes unwavering. Daniel stepped inside. The interior was spacious and bright, with marble floors and exquisite oil paintings on the walls. At the front desk stood a professional attendant, smiling politely. Honored hero, how may I assist you? I want to buy real estate. The attendant nodded, smiling. Very well, which plot are you interested in? I can recommend the best locations. All of them. The attendant's smile froze. All available commercial properties in Skyhold? You want them all? The quill in the attendant's hand fell to the desk, mouth forming an O, frozen for 3 seconds before reacting. Please, Wait, I need to report this to my superiors. A cool, clear voice spoke from behind. Honored hero, are you serious? Daniel turned. A woman in a deep blue gown stood at the doorway. Her silver hair fell to her waist, her features delicate as a work of art. Her eyes were a rare pale violet, assessing Daniel carefully. Two assistants stood behind her, faces full of respect. Skyhold Chief of Commercial Management, Alicia, Epic Grade NPC. Daniel nodded. Of course. Alicia approached, scanning him from head to toe. Pioneer of Creation, Honorary Citizen of 9 cities, Apprentice Merit Medal Holder, and a Level 2 Honor Medal. As she recited his titles, her eyes shifted slightly at the last one. You indeed have the qualification and authority to make this purchase. She paused, taking the documents from the attendant and quickly reviewing them. Skyhold has 57 vacant commercial properties spread across commercial streets, residential areas, and near-instance entrances. The total cost. She looked up directly at Daniel. Exceeds 10 billion gold coins. Are you sure? Daniel didn't hesitate, opening the transaction interface to transfer the funds. Transferred to Skyhold official account. 10 billion gold coins. A stream of zeros flashed across the screen, taking several moments to fully display. Alicia's pupils contracted slightly at the number. She was silent for a few seconds, then spoke softly. Please wait while I report to the Lord. She turned and walked away, her high heels clicking crisply on the marble floor. Daniel leisurely moved to the wall, admiring the paintings. One depicted Skyhold's initial construction scaffolds floating in the clouds, craftsmen working midair fascinating to observe. 5 minutes later, Alicia returned. The Lord has approved. She handed Daniel a thick stack of contracts, each stamped with the Lord's official seal. All 57 properties are now yours. Received. Skyhold real estate contracts times 57. Daniel stowed the contracts in his backpack and turned to leave. Alicia asked suddenly, why are you buying so much property? Daniel looked at her.
Why?
Monopoly, of course. Monopoly sounded simple, but required a full chain to execute. He moved to the window, pointing to the bustling commercial street below. A few players wandered the streets. Most shops were empty, with for sale signs. How many adventurers are in Skyhold currently? Alicia considered. About 1,000, I'd say. And in a month, 2 months. Alicia said nothing. Daniel continued. When most adventurers reach level 30 to 40, the main city will become the true core area. Daily traffic will be hundreds or thousands of times higher than now. What will they need? Equipment, potions, materials, all sorts of supplies. He turned to Alicia. All those needs will be fulfilled through shops, and the shops accessible to adventurers are exactly what I just bought. Alicia thought for a moment. So you intend to monopolize the trade channels among adventurers? Daniel spoke calmly. He deliberately emphasized the key point. Between adventurers. The NPC shops in the 9 main cities would remain unaffected. Official channels, main city shops, guild shops, and military supply offices would continue operating normally. Prices set by the system, untouchable by anyone. But the real estate he purchased was different. These were commercial properties adventurers could freely operate. Once adventurers rented or bought these shops, they could open their own stores, sell the equipment, materials, or potions they obtained, set their own prices, and keep the profits. This was Daniel's true goal. Adventurers want to open a shop? They'll have to rent or buy the stores I own, he said. Seeing Alicia's puzzled look, he continued. If adventurers want to buy something, aside from the main city shops, they'll have to come to the stores I operate. My prices are lower, and the stock comes from adventurers themselves. Those who don't want to open shops but want to liquidate their goods, those goods will eventually flow into these stores. Alicia's eyes widened slightly. So, what you want to control is the capillaries of the adventure economy, Daniel said. Don't worry, he added. I won't touch what I shouldn't. I won't take a cent from main city profits. I only control the portion between adventurers. Unless he achieved certain merits or earned a noble title, acquiring NPC-held properties would be impossible. He picked up a contract on the table, scanning the location details. Alicia nodded, then asked suddenly, how will you set the pricing? If the rent is too high, many adventurers won't be able to afford it. Daniel shook his head. The rent won't be high, at least for ordinary adventurers. He paused, eyes cooling slightly. But for the big guilds, it's a different story. Alicia's eyes widened. Then she understood. You mean? They're rich, aren't they? Big wallets, big egos. Daniel's lips curved in a small smile. Want to open a guild shop in the main city? Fine, rent is 10 times that of a regular adventurer. Want to monopolize a specific material? Sure, first check with me if I approve the pricing. What he didn't say. In his previous life, the big guilds had used wealth and influence to dominate the adventure economy. Solo players who wanted to sell something valuable had to undercut themselves. And when solo players wanted to buy good items, the guilds skimmed them dry. This time, he would let those guilds experience being throttled instead. Alicia looked at Daniel, her expression complicated. Honestly, if Daniel hadn't had the level 2 honor medal, she wouldn't have approved this deal. Even though the Lord had agreed, she still had the right to reject it. After a moment of silence, she spoke. Actually, what you're doing benefits most adventurers. Daniel raised an eyebrow. Oh, if you really keep rent low, ordinary adventurers will have the chance to open stores. Big guilds monopolized resources for too long. Ordinary adventurers had to sell good items cheaply. Now they can open their own stores, set their own prices, and keep their profits. Daniel nodded slightly. That was exactly his intention. Monopoly could be used for personal gain or for balance. In his previous life, he had seen too many players quit the game due to unequal resource distribution. He had seen potential solo players forced into dead ends by big guilds. This time, with the system in hand, he wanted to try a different approach. Give ordinary adventurers more opportunities, prevent guilds from having total control. After all, when a disaster arrives, the ones who step up will be every single player. But, Alicia said after a pause, the 9 main cities cover an enormous area. Even if you control adventurer resources in Skyhold, with the other 8 cities regulating theirs, it will be difficult to achieve exactly what you intend. Daniel smiled calmly. Not hard at all. I've bought all 9 main cities. Any adventurer wanting to open a shop in a main city has to go through me. What? Alicia gasped. All 9 main cities bought? What kind of scale is this? The total assets must be at least 10 trillion gold coins. Skyhold's annual revenue couldn't even reach a fraction of that. This adventurer is only level 70. Where did he get this kind of capital? If he really has this level of backing, any major guild wanting a foothold in the main cities will have to play by his rules. And as Skyhold's chief of commercial management, Alicia knew exactly what this meant for a main city. If Daniel really builds the system he described, it would greatly stabilize and promote economic growth. More transactions would happen here, more taxes flowing into the Lord's treasury, and the more prosperous the city, the greater the benefit. It's a win-win scenario. Of course, the biggest winner is the man himself. You. Alicia opened her mouth, unsure what to say. Daniel stowed the contracts and turned to leave.
At the door, he paused.
By the way, beautiful lady, if anyone from Doom Guild comes to rent a shop, give them a friendly discount, okay? Alicia paused, then a slight smile appeared. Of course. Daniel nodded and disappeared outside. Next, he would need to move quickly through the remaining 8 main cities, repeating the same process. Once he controlled all adventure run shops in all 9 main cities, he could supply 616 world line players with reasonably priced goods, supporting solo players while using economic means to counterbalance big guilds. Of course, he'd also earn a little profit along the way. It was only natural. Night fell, and Skyhold's lights gradually turned on. Daniel's figure flashed between one main city and another, one contract after another falling into his backpack. His commercial empire was taking root. Luminera, Archer Guild. Daniel walked into the guild hall once more. He headed straight to the hidden instructor, Shadow Song, at the very back. Hello, I'm here to accept the Star Ascension quest. Shadow Song looked at him, a hint of curiosity in her eyes. Pioneer of creation, honorary citizen of 9 cities. You've accomplished quite a lot today. Daniel smiled. Not much, just handled it while passing by. Shadow Song's mouth twitched. Passing by? You call this passing by? She shook her head and handed him a scroll. Star Ascension quest, Fallen Mountain God SSS rank. Quest description: the Northern Mountains Broken Spine Range produces a variety of rare herbs, vital for alchemists and gatherers in the 9 main cities. Recently, the Mountain God has gone berserk, annihilating any life entering the mountains. The most capable hero is required to subdue the Fallen Mountain God and restore the herb-producing region. Quest objective: defeat the Fallen Mountain God and uncover the root cause of its corruption. LV 75 Black Gold Grade Boss. Quest rewards: Class Star Level +1. Attribute points plus 150. Unlock a new class skill. Daniel read the quest description, his brows furrowing involuntarily. Mountain God? In his previous lives, Daniel had rarely encountered such creatures. They were scarce, nearly extinct, and usually gentle, never involving themselves in interspecies conflicts. These special beings had mountain-like bodies, with absurdly high defenses. No one bothered them. So, why had it suddenly gone berserk? Suppressing his doubt, he turned to Shadow Song. By the way, do you have any suitable skill recommendations? Shadow Song glanced at him and flipped through a skill book. This quest is actually cross-class. As an archer, taking it is a bit of a disadvantage. This might help you. Eagle Pierce, Rank. Effect: fires a high-penetration arrow that ignores 30% of target's defense and resistances. Cooldown 1 minute. Class restriction: Special Archer Class. Price: 10 gold coins. Daniel's eyes lit up. He immediately purchased it. He then opened the guild warehouse and sold the skill book to his own guild.
Ding.
You sold item to Doom Guild. Eagle Pierce skill book, A rank. 1 copper coin, triggering millionfold boost. Sold item is skill book type. Player selects quality boost. Congratulations. You received 1 gold coin and obtained skill book. Etherlance, SSS rank. Etherlance, SSS rank. Effect: fires an arrow imbued with absolute penetration power. Ignores all defenses, shields, and damage mitigation, dealing 1000% damage to the target. Deals double damage to large creatures. Cooldown 1 minute. MP cost: 2000. Daniel's lips curved slightly. Ignores all defenses and shields. This skill might be invaluable for the upcoming quest. And 1000% damage was no joke. Double damage against large creatures made it perfect for the Mountain God. He learned the skill immediately, and then crushed the quest scroll. A brilliant light enveloped him. When the world came into focus, Daniel was already at the foot of a towering mountain. The sky was gray, clouds pressing low as if ready to collapse. The entire mountain was shrouded in an eerie mist, faintly gray, flowing as if alive. Animal bones littered the ground, some fresh with scraps of meat. At the foot of the mountain stood a stone tablet, inscribed in blood-red letters.
Trespassasti.
Daniel glanced at it casually and stepped into the mountain. After only a few steps, the ground trembled. Massive boulders began to roll, snapping together with a series of clicks, as if an invisible hand were assembling blocks. Debris scattered, dust flying. Soon, tall stone figures began to rise. They stood over 3 meters tall, bodies of rough stone, thick limbs, no facial features, only a faintly glowing crystal core in their chest. Mountain God's minion, Stone Golem, LV-70, iron-grade monster. The moment they fully formed, nearly 100 stone golems charged at Daniel. The ground shook with their roar, even trembling beneath his feet. Daniel didn't hold back. He raised his bow and fired. Shattering comet. A streak of light shot into the sky, suddenly splitting into dozens of arrows trailing golden flames, raining down like a meteor shower.
Boom.
Arrows rained across the field, blasting stone golems apart. Some had arms shattered, some had chests blown open, others disintegrated completely.
Ding.
You killed stone golem times 26. Gained 579,494 XP. Indeed, shattering comet stacks with explosion effects. Although killing these stone men wasn't difficult, Daniel noticed something. These creatures were purely rock. Explosions did reduced damage. Sometimes 2 arrows were needed to destroy one. Then, an idea came to him. What if he combined Shattering Comet with Arrowstorm? Arrowstorm covered a wide area, 200% damage per arrow with explosions. Shattering Comet split into multiple arrows, wider coverage, but slightly lower single arrow damage. Stacking the 2 effects onto one arrow, what would happen? He decided to try. Another wave of stone golems approached, footsteps shaking the mountain. Daniel inhaled deeply and drew his bow. He released. The arrow soared, trailing interwoven golden and blue flames, climbing to the clouds. At its peak, it halted. Swish, swish, swish. The arrow split into dozens of streams of light. But unlike a normal shattering comet, each stream exploded again into palm-sized golden sparks. The sparks densely filled the sky, like a shower of falling stars. Then they began to descend. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. Boom, 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 boom. Explosions roared almost simultaneously, the entire hillside engulfed in golden fire. Like a cluster bomb strike, nothing survived in its path. Golems charging forward were instantly swallowed by the inferno. The explosion happened in just an instant. When the smoke cleared, not a single stone golem remained. Only shattered rocks and smoking craters covered the slope, dense, like the lunar surface.
Ding.
You killed stone golem times 154. Gained 3,379,494 XP. Daniel stared, momentarily stunned. The power. Although each arrow's damage was lower than Arrowstorm, roughly 150%, the coverage was enormous, nearly unavoidable. That previous wave covered at least 200 meters, wiping out over 150 golems. And the best part, MP consumption.
Arrowstorm, Omi MP Shattering Comet, Omi MP.
But that single arrow only consumed 1500 MP. Effectively, he expended 1.5x MP to achieve the combined effect of 2 skills. Damage was slightly lower, but range doubled. Insufficient firepower? No problem, he had overwhelming numbers. Daniel grinned wildly. A single archer equaled an entire artillery regiment. He advanced further up the mountain. The higher he climbed, the thicker the mist, reducing visibility. Stone golems became rarer, but they evolved. Some carried shields, some hurled stones, and 2 even merged into larger forms. Still, none of them posed a threat. One arrow often cleared an entire ridge. This was the power of a humanoid artillery corps. Half an hour later, Daniel reached mid-mountain. Then he froze. The sight before him made his pupils constrict. It was a mountain, no, the entire mountain was the boss. A colossal, 100-meter-tall mountain creature, its body fused with rock and soil, blending with the mountain range itself. A faint human-like face could be seen at the summit, 2 massive caves for eyes, a deep fissure for a mouth. Every breath made the mountain itself rise and fall slightly. Fallen Mountain God, LV-75, Black Gold Grade Boss. Daniel stood at its base, tiny as an ant. He could even see the patterns on its rocky skin. Traces left over countless years the history of the entire mountain. And now, within those patterns, a faint, sinister black glow pulsed. The mountain god seemed to sense his presence. The blurred face drooped slightly, its massive eyes fixed on him. Then it slowly raised a foot. A foot composed of the entire mountain itself, the toes alone were the size of buildings. Boom! The entire ground shook violently. The spot where Daniel had just stood was crushed into a 10-meter-wide crater, debris flying, dust rising in clouds. Daniel landed on a massive rock 50 meters away. He immediately raised his hand and fired. Explosive arrow. The arrow struck the mountain god's leg, only creating a small dent. Its HP barely changed. Minus 1,000. Daniel twitched. 1,000 damage against the mountain god's absurdly massive HP, probably less than 0.01%. But the mountain god was enraged by even that single arrow. Damn insect. Die for me. It let out a deep roar, a sound resonating from deep within the mountain itself, shaking hearts with fear. Then it raised its massive hands and slammed them into the ground.
Boom.
A shockwave radiated outward from its impact. The ground cracked. Boulders flew. Daniel was thrown into the air, somersaulting before stabilizing. He lost 800 HP. Regaining his stance, his eyes cooled. He inhaled deeply and drew his silver bow to full draw. Etherlance. Golden light spread along the bow, up his arms, and over his body. In the blink of an eye, Daniel was like a blazing golden torch. As the bowstring reached its limit, a massive golden spear formed on the bow, its tip emitting a blinding glow.
Bang.
The golden spear tore through the sky, leaving a trail of golden light, and pierced straight into the mountain god's chest.
Boom.
The mountain god staggered. Focusing, Daniel saw a door-sized hole blown open in its chest, stones raining down, golden light spilling from the cavity. Minus 220,580. The red critical hit indicator flashed mountain god's HP visibly dropped. Daniel's eyes brightened. This skill packs some serious punch. Daniel used god speed to dodge the mountain god's furious attacks while waiting for Etherlance to cool down. Meanwhile, countless explosive arrow volleys pounded the mountain god, dislodging rocks in showers. A minute later, he fired another Etherlance. Another minute later, a third. After 3 shots, the mountain god's HP dropped by 1/3. But it had entered a full berserk state. The mountain god roared to the sky, the entire mountain trembling violently. Boulders cascaded from the peak, crashing down, forming craters in the terrain. It raised its hands again and slammed down. This time, it wasn't a mere shockwave. It was an actual landslide. Countless fissures cracked the earth, plunging into bottomless depths. One misstep and you had fallen. Daniel activated God's speed, weaving through falling rocks, jumping along fissure edges. Several times, he narrowly avoided being crushed. At an opening, he fired another Etherlance directly at the core.
Boom.
The mountain god's chest exploded, forming another massive cavity, golden light pouring out. Minus 568,490. After this hit, its HP fell to roughly 1/3. Daniel's eyes narrowed. Was this a weak point critical hit? He had heard that mountain gods were incredibly difficult to kill. But if you could locate their weak point, they became far easier to defeat. Of course, the weak point was also the most heavily fortified area. But Daniel's Etherlance ignored defenses and shields. Cracks spread across the mountain god's body, black light intensifying. Without hesitation, Daniel seized the mountain god's moment of rage and fired Etherlance again into its chest cavity.
Boom.
HP dropped to 0. The mountain god's enormous body began to collapse, dust billowing everywhere. The entire mountain disintegrated with deafening crashes.
Ding.
You have slain fallen mountain god, black gold grade boss. Rewards: mountain god essence × 1, earth arm guards, black gold grade, boulder shield, black gold grade, 500 gold coins, contribution points plus 100, 2,569,000 XP. Daniel stared at the door-sized hole in the mountain god's chest, the mark left by Etherlance. Inside lay the quest item, Heart of Mountain. But as he gazed at the mountain god's immense body, a sense of awe struck him. Despite its size, this was merely a young mountain god. He had witnessed, centuries later on the endgame battlefield, mountain gods over 10,000 meters tall. One punch could tear the ground apart, and even the most powerful skills hitting them were like scratching an itch. This mountain god had slept for countless years, awakening only due to the Elven Queen's summons to confront the Dark God. The mountain god race also went by another name, the Children of the Earth. They were the closest offspring of the land itself, all strength tied to the world, lacking souls. Their only weakness, Heart of Mountain. This also meant they were immune to mental control and corruption by the Dark God's whispers. Yet this one had fallen into a completely irrational rage. With that in mind, Daniel charged directly into the chest cavity. Inside, it was pitch black. The next moment, Black Dragon King's protection activated behind him, red light illuminating the surroundings. He entered a massive chest cavity. Thick ribs surrounded him, each wide enough to be hugged by several people like a natural prison. The ribs were covered with cracks, constantly shedding fragments. In front of him, a massive gemstone floated in midair. Heart of Mountain, epic grade material. It was roughly the size of an adult man, crystal clear, with faint golden light swirling within. The light pulsed rhythmically, like a heartbeat. But what caught Daniel's attention wasn't the gemstone, it was what was sealed inside. Inside floated a person, winged being. Silver hair, near-perfect facial features, 6 white wings folded tightly behind him. His eyes were closed, expression calm, as if sleeping. Yet along the wing edges, black veins were spreading. The veins crawled like blood vessels, slowly corrupting the white feathers. Daniel's pupils constricted.
Ding.
Hidden boss detected, awakening. Crack. The Heart of Mountain suddenly fractured. Fissures spread from the center, golden light dimming, replaced by a sinister black mist. The black mist surged from the cracks, carrying a stench of decay and despair. Crack. The Heart of Mountain shattered completely. Shards exploded outward. Daniel dodged several flying fragments. When he looked again, the figure inside hovered midair, eyes now open. No whites in the eyes, only dark red pupils, like smoldering embers. He slowly spread the 6 wings behind him. Every feather was veined with black, as if soaked in ink. The veins wriggled, and black liquid dripped from the edges, corroding the ground. Corrupted Angel, Ariel Dawnstar, LV-75, Epic Grade Boss. Corrupted Angel, Ariel, LV-75, Epic Grade Boss. A blood-red alert appeared. Daniel's mind tightened, and he immediately put some distance between them. But the Corrupted Angel did not attack at once. It hovered in midair, gazing down at the shattered fragments of the heart of mountain, watching the remaining pieces flicker with their last traces of faint golden light. Then it let out a low, sorrowful wail. The sound was both crying and rage. Within the small chest cavity, debris cascaded down.
Ding.
Hidden story triggered. Corrupted Angel, Ariel. Ariel was a prince of the angel race. At his birth, the Dark Acolyte had already betrayed the angels. After failing, the Dark Acolyte placed a Dark God's curse upon the infant, attempting to blackmail the Angel King. Faced with orders to eliminate the fallen heir, the Angel King could not bring himself to kill his child, entrusting him secretly to a trusted mountain god, hoping that its purifying power would gradually dispel the curse. However, the curse was far stronger than expected. 20 years later, Ariel's will was thoroughly corrupted, and even the mountain god fell into madness under the dark god's whispers. Daniel read the description, understanding immediately. No wonder the gentle mountain god had gone berserk. No wonder this mountain had become a life-forbidden zone. He had no time to dwell, as the chest cavity began to tremble violently. Cracks appeared across the thick ribs. The mountain god was dead. The cavity was collapsing. At the same time, the figure moved. 6 black wings unfurled explosively. The corrupted angel transformed into a streak of black light, charging at him. The speed was astonishing. Daniel instinctively activated God's speed, dodging behind a rib.
Boom.
The angel's claw shredded the rib behind him, debris flying and striking Daniel painfully. Before he could react further, a second strike came. Daniel gritted his teeth, manipulating his dragon wings to dodge within the confined space. The ribs restricted his movement, and he narrowly avoided being hit several times. The angel's claws grazed his cheek, leaving a slash of blood. Black wings swept across, breaking nearby ribs, nearly crushing him. He seized an opening and drew his bow. Etherlance. The golden spear shot forth at close range, piercing the angel's chest instantly. Minus 150,000. The angel screamed, losing 15% HP. But instead of retreating, it became even more frenzied. Daniel dodged with God's speed, firing arrows as he moved. He avoided using explosive damage in this confined space. Too much would collapse the chest prematurely. 2 more Etherlance strikes hit, reducing Ariel's HP to 50%. The corrupted angel's movements grew faster, black mist thickening around it. The suffocating black aura made Daniel shiver in disgust. At the moment of his 5th Etherlance, Ariel suddenly halted. He hovered midair, 6 black wings drooping, red light in his eyes flickering. In that critical moment, the golden spear pierced his heart. HP instantly dropped to 0. Yet he did not fall. He hovered, gazing down at the gaping wound in his chest, the black liquid still dripping. Then he lifted his head. The red light in his eyes vanished. In its place were clear, pale golden eyes. "You, who are you?" His voice was hoarse and weak, like someone awakening after centuries of slumber. Daniel said nothing, remaining alert. Ariel struggled to land on a relatively intact rib. He looked at his ruined black wings, at the creeping black veins, and smiled bitterly. "Indeed, I couldn't hold on. And I dragged Mountain God Grandpa down with me." He looked up at Daniel. "My name is Ariel, Prince of the Angel Race." He paused, as if recalling a distant memory. Then he reached out to touch a thick rib beside him. "Mountain God Grandpa accompanied me for 20 years. To suppress my curse, his strength was consumed continuously, until in the end, even he was corrupted." His voice trembled. Debris continued to fall from above. The chest cavity collapsed faster and faster. Ariel looked at Daniel. "You killed Mountain God Grandpa and freed me. I owe you my life." Struggling, he removed the golden crown from his head and handed it directly to Daniel. "This is for you."
Ding.
Corrupted Angel, Ariel grants you Archangel's Crown Legendary Grade. Archangel's Crown Legendary Grade. Effect 1. Archangel's Holy Light. Immune to all Angel-class magic and physical attacks. Damage to Angel-class enemies plus 800%. Effect 2. Power of Judgment. Damage to dark or evil-aligned enemies plus 1000%. Effect 3. Holy Blessing. 4 core attributes plus 200. Mental resistance plus 1000%. Description: Legacy Relic of the Angel Prince, containing the last will of a legendary archangel. Daniel took the crown, looking at the weakened Angel Prince before him. Ariel gave a faint, weary smile. The Dark Acolyte betrayed the angel race. My father may have been deceived as well. His voice weakened as his body turned into countless golden light particles, dissipating.
I'm sorry.
With the final word, he transformed completely into sparkling golden fragments, vanishing within the chest cavity.
Ding.
You have slain corrupted angel, Ariel, Epic Grade Boss. Rewards, 3,500,000 XP. Holy Wingardian, Epic Grade, ×1. Angel's Tear, Special, ×1. 8,000 gold coins. Contribution points plus 800.
Ding.
XP overflow detected. Current level, 70, cap. Daniel hadn't even checked the new equipment before a burning sensation flared across his chest. Looking down, a golden rune slowly emerged on his chest, faintly glowing. The rune was complex, subtly forming the shape of a pair of wings.
Ding.
You have received the Angelic Vengeance mark. Effect: Angelic race members can sense your presence at close range. While marked, your location will be revealed automatically when entering angel territories. Duration: permanent, removable only by special means. Daniel frowned. Vengeance mark? He looked toward the place where Ariel had disappeared. The golden particles had completely dissipated. No wonder the angel had apologized in the end. Now it made sense. At that moment, the system alarm blared. Warning. Detection. Powerful life form locking onto this location. Warning. Evacuate immediately. A terrifying presence descended from the sky at incredible speed. A pressure so immense it seemed to freeze the surrounding space. Daniel didn't hesitate and activated Godspeed. Destination: Luminera. The next moment he vanished. Almost simultaneously, a golden light appeared above the Broken Spine Mountains. A colossal angel nearly 10 meters tall, 12 golden wings blotting out the sky, each feather ablaze with holy flame. His expression was both majestic and sorrowful, gazing down at the collapsed mountains, the shattered remains of the mountain god, and the last lingering particles of light in the air. The king of the angel race. Damn you. Even if you flee to the ends of the world, I will bring your head back to honor the fallen. He let out a thunderous roar. The voice carried endless sorrow and overwhelming killing intent. Boom. Golden light erupted from him, flattening the surrounding mountains across hundreds of miles in an instant.